la ciencia.
Me, myself, and I still pushing forward, I'm ahead like die. Standing on my flow with my head to the sky. Pass on a bitch, young rip, drop dimes. It's been a rough road, gotta look for the signs. I'm married to this music, so I cook for my bride. Flip out like a skateboarder, look how I grind. It took a long time, but I'm right on time. I'm progressing, that's progressive. I got bars like a correction, still chasing petty cash. That's a mantis, I want extra. I stop searching for my pops, I hold my nuts just like a checkup. I get physical, I'm copping just like Interpol. I play on words like a syllable. To me, the world is fading. Hold this L just like a Laker. Like a birthday, my shit caking. It get messy like an apron. I pick out just like some bacon. And I sizzle like it too. Can't forget about you, boo. It feel like we on a loop. Same shit, different day. I don't know what's really true. I get high as I leave hoops. Who gon' give me what I'm owed? Man, I guess nobody knew. And I know that money talks, so what it said is probably true. It's the feeling that I get and the shit I'll probably do to get through or get by. I get fly, cause I'm Jeff Goldblum in my mind. Tell them hoes to fall in line. If you thought I fell off, bitch, I'm back like my spine. Hot as homemade pie. That's the pro rate, ma. I'm a pro, ain't I? Sniff it out like K9s. I'm a thief, it take time to be great on Bayside. I get blue like Kelly Parker. When I'm gone, I left a mark. Tell them fish I'm still a shark. I will embark on this journey till it's finished. In the midst of all this friction, I got vision on my P's like no limit. Like a mouse, now we clicking. I go out for the spinach, that's business.
Reflected all of the love from up above. We used to feel like a glove. I still think about the you that only exists in my brain. Nothing ever stays the same. Guess it's just a shame. There's no one to blame.
Stop looking for somebody else to lay the blame. Without a wave of change, life stays the same. So when I pull up to your spot, I'm with a paradigm chick. Only used to have one and it's my paradigm ship. Calls for celebration, I cracked the hen. I took a hiatus, but I'm back again. A bunch of blue face hundreds, I've been stacking them. Cause in the game of life, I just have to win. So when I'm in go mode, I be ballin' insane. Tried to walk away, they was calling my name. My brothers from another, we are all in the game. Don't give a fuck about clout nor all of the fame. I'm trying to inspire, empower, build and progress at a steady rate. Move heavyweight like a Bowflex. The haters make me greater, they mad, I got them so stressed. Shock my style for a while now, I can show text. Screenshots as proof and receipts. You a certified clown, been a goof in the streets. Angel made the beat, but this my demon flow. Get a lot of love from people I don't even know. And when the situation's ugly like Dudley, we do right. Fuck propaganda, let's conquer and unite. The wait's over, take over, it's commencing. My money fully grown, yours like an infant. But that ain't no shade to you. It's just provision and protection, what you made to do. Being a man with a purpose, who you supposed to be. Living life as a loser, that's a joke to me. FN 509, stay close to me. If I pull it, I'ma spray like some potpourri. I don't wanna have to go there, so hopefully you don't try to have no beef or no smoke with me. Bro, everything I'm talking about, be backing it up. I'm back in the cuts, rapping the Dutch and macking a hut. She start to get aroused when I'm smacking her butt. Baby got stupid cheeks and she be clapping it up. I'ma enter through the front and hit the back of her guts. She a classy lady but be acting a slut. When we be kissing and cuddling, my bitch like to hug. Her box customized so it fit like a glove.
Radios up, turn your radios
up? Y'all know what this is. Y'all know who this is. B-Eazy Dat Dude, an impromptu stream back with another one. This one is gonna be a banger. Will be highly emotional, but it will be a doozy. I don't like to keep y'all waiting. So before we get this thing started, I gotta hit you.
If you know the song, sing along. Yeah, you're right.
私も地元民と言っても実際世代です。もう友達できたの？うん。ぶったまんまこっち見ろ。
Look, this promethazine got me leaning like a cholo. In the club, I'm 20 deep. I don't be riding solo. Pull some bad bitches, they vanilla and cocoa. They wanna take some photos when we kick it out in Soho. Chicks are showing tits and popping pussy for my promo. Told them like juvenile, baby, move it for me slow-mo. Then I'm right back to the block, cause I keep getting modo. I be flipping, not shrinking. I don't give a fuck about no ho. This nigga name ain't D-Lo, but pimpin' these bitches and stacking this bread forever be my stilo. This is B-Eazy Dat Dude in the trap making packs smooth. If I ever go broke, then I'm about to pull a jack move. Since a nigga healthy, I don't even gotta worry. With my bitch from Fiji, eating tandoori and chicken curry. That ism is really in me. My pimp game international. I design my own clothes, so I be always looking fashionable. Here's a couple facts about me that y'all didn't know. Some of y'all be getting bread, but I be getting bigger, dawg. I got bigger guns and a whole lot of bad. And we are activated, and we gonna get right into this thing. But I would be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to the illustrious guests. Shout out to Mr. FBA all day. Tutnees, bless you, but he didn't sneeze. We got East Coast finest, Mr. Nassau County, Roger Meadows. Hey, Roger, where Brooklyn at? And we've been joined by, it looks like a new guest. Shout out to Lizzie Klima. Hopefully I'm saying it right, but shout out to Lizzie Klima, LK. We've got Dropping the T, and I would like a spot a T, but make sure it's black. So shout out to Dropping the T, the UK fam. And of course, we've been joined by the sophisticated, the ravishing, and the enchanting, the Tory Experience. And we got Lex 925, aka Chocolate Glow. You know, we got Miss Kimberly Black. She don't never slack, listening on her ride in. So salute to you. Tip that hat to this richly melanated sister listening while in class. I love that. I appreciate you. While you educating, you get in two forms of educating, because gems will be dropped, bars will be spit. And so you listening. So respect to you and respect to everyone that want to get educated or edumacated. And once again, to the UK fam, salute to Dropping the T. We're going to get right into it now. I know, unless you've been living under a rock, there has been a highly controversial case. The Karmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf case. Now, Karmelo Anthony has been found guilty of murder, sentenced to 35 years. And I believe that this is a travesty of justice, not because I want to excuse what Karmelo Anthony did. Yes, in a perfect scenario, Karmelo Anthony should not have stabbed Austin Metcalf. But we can't stop there. Austin Metcalf was a bully.
They're downplaying his thuggish behavior. He was an imposing and intimidating figure. Just ask a bunch of women. Right now, ask women, if you had a choice between a man that want to protect you, would you hire a 5'8", 130-pound guy to be your bodyguard? And I ain't trying to shame you, feel me? I ain't trying to shame the fellas. I'm not height phobic, you know what I mean? Let's just call it that, right? But the sisters say this. And when I say sisters, I don't just mean black women. I'm just saying sisters, women in general. Look at all these dating sites. They say that they want a man 6 foot, 6 pack, and then packing 6 feet or 6 inches somewhere else, at least, is what they say, right? So when you look at a 5'8", 130-pounder versus a 6'1", 200+ pound person, women say it all the time. Hey, if I'm with a dude that's 5'8", I don't feel safe. But they do say if a person is above 6 feet, then suddenly they start to feel safe, right? So if the women don't feel safe, do you think that this person who's 5'8", because they want to paint him as some little pipsqueak, right? So if a 5'8" pipsqueak, why wouldn't he be fearful of some big muscular person who's acting in a thuggish way, right? So there's weight classes for a reason. If you watch a boxing match, are the 130-pound people fighting the 200-pounders? You watch UFC. Are the 130-pound fighters fighting the 200-pounders? In boxing, 130 pounds is considered super featherweight. Featherweight. There's terms light as a feather. Light as a feather, not heavy. You don't hear anyone saying heavy as a feather. You hear them say light as a feather. So 130 pounds is a super featherweight. 200+ pounds is considered heavyweight. It's not even the same weight class. If people look at a heavyweight fighting a lightweight, let alone a super featherweight, they say that's a mismatch. But suddenly we're pretending as if it was a fair fight between this big, brutish, thuggish figure in Austin Metcalf. We just got to call it what it is. No, he should still be here today. Yeah, you want to try to say that Karmelo should have had impulse control. Where was Austin's impulse control? They love to say who raised them. Well, Karmelo was raised by a well-to-do family, and both of his parents were educated and well off. But then when you look at Austin's family, his dad was accused of molesting kids or having, let's just call it, inappropriate contact with minors. It rhymes with Edo with a P in front. Karmelo's dad doesn't have any allegations like that. It's known that Austin's and the twins' dad was a degenerate deadbeat. But suddenly no one is talking about who raised Austin. Austin was chimping out. Austin was showing low impulse control, right? If Karmelo was showing low impulse control, fine. He was. Wasn't it mutual combat, mutual low impulse control? If there's an electric fence and it says, don't touch this fence or you will be shocked, and someone says, hey, you better not touch that fence or you gonna get shocked, and then you touch the fence and you get shocked, and then you want to blame it. He caused me to get shocked. He told me if I touched the fence, I would get shocked. Bro, there's warning signs right there. Why would you touch the fence? And if you call the bluff and you think that, hey, this fence is not wired hot, and you touch that fence, that's on you. The dude said, bro, don't touch me. Touch me and find out what's going to happen to you. These people pride themselves on F around and find out. He effed around and find out, and then suddenly he's a victim. No, he was a bully. Now he still should be here today. And this was a travesty. That wasn't murder. You can say that, yes, he was guilty of manslaughter. Really, you can say he was guilty of criminally negligent homicide. That's what it really was. He didn't wake up. The dude was a straight A student. Not only that, And Karmelo Anthony's defense was very feckless, and this to me shows, that was a pathetic defense. The prosecutors called 21 witnesses, and all of those witnesses were just bashing Karmelo. One of the dudes who was Carmelo's friend, some little snake Latino dude named Eddie Pata, right? That's your people of color coalition right there. Some snake Latino dude named Eddie Pata, right? He said, nah, Karmelo ain't my friend. And then the dude was like, oh, he's not your friend. They pulled up multiple pictures. Eddie was going on double dates. He had been to Carmelo's house. And this is what I'm saying. He got stabbed in the back. Why didn't the defense? Okay, fine. Carmelo's defense didn't have to call up 21 people like the prosecutors did, but he could have called up 10. He could have called up 15. He could have called up 5. He called up 3 witnesses. He wasn't very vehement and vociferous. And then he tried to say some stuff like, oh, well, he was walking a line between, he didn't want to be too aggressive and all this stuff. Like, bro, what are you talking about too aggressive? The young kid is facing murder. And here you got this W lawyer, you know what I mean? And I know people say, oh, well, his race shouldn't matter and all this stuff. White lawyer. And they say it was an all-white jury. It wasn't an all-white jury. It was a non-black jury. But all of those other jurors, many of them are honorary whites. They were like, oh, Asians and all this other Middle Easterns. Middle Easterns are considered white. You can say that they're not white, but how many times do I have to pull it up? Palestinians are considered white. Syrians, white. Egyptians, white. Lebanese people, white. Now you can say that they're not white, but there's no one when they check that box for the U.S. Census, there's no gun to their head forcing them to check white. There is a box that says other. They can check other and say I'm Lebanese and I'm Palestinian. Now in 2030, they will have a new box for them to check, which is Middle Eastern, North African. But even still, that's not a race. It's just an ethnic and cultural identifier. There's no race called Arab. There's no race called Middle Eastern. There's no race called Muslim. So when you just say these terms, you don't know who you're talking about, but you have a caricature in your mind. If you say Muslim, you think of bin Laden. You say Arab, you think of someone that looks like Aladdin in flip-flops. You have these stereotypical trope-like caricatures, but is that what it truly means? There's a bunch of Asian and white Muslims. There's a bunch of black Muslims. So who the hell are you talking about when you say Muslim? Who are you talking about when you say Middle Eastern, right? There's a bunch of dark melanated people that are Middle Eastern. And then there's a bunch of pale white Middle Easterns because it's not a race. So many people try to act confused, and that's why they use these ethnic identifiers. I'm Palestinian. Yeah, but that's not a race. There's a bunch of white Palestinians, and there's nothing wrong with it. But to try to pretend and hide behind your ethnic and cultural identifier to try to bounce in, when they want to make a crime, what about black on black crime? When they want to make a claim about crime and degeneracy, then suddenly they make it about a broad sweeping racial category. And then they try to tell you don't make it about race, but that's all they do is make things about race. This Karmelo Anthony case is about race while they keep telling you don't make it about race. But let me get into the chat, man, because I'm gonna be on one today, bro. And we've been joined by Mr. Frank Nitty, grimy, gritty, when he put it on for the biddy. Tutney says two muscular deviants. Yeah, see, I'm only bringing up Austin Metcalf. We're not talking about that Karmelo was surrounded. He was surrounded by multiple people of the other team. First of all, there's two twins. Come on. The way I grew up, if your brother fight, you fighting. Your sister in a fight, you jump in. As twin brothers that have this symbiotic relationship and synergy, we already know if Austin was getting into a fight and he couldn't hold his own, but of course he could hold his own because he was a big, burly, muscular linebacker behaving in a thuggish way, right? We can say both of them, right? Karmelo chimped out and stabbed him, right? But Carmelo chimped out because he was being chimped out on by a bigger, more muscular chimp. You know what I mean? They say it's a dog eat dog world, right? So, hey, the bigger dog tried to go up against a little pooch. He tried to go up a little pooch. The big German Shepherd tried to go up against the Chihuahua, and the Chihuahua won. The Chihuahua had to defend itself by any means necessary. In every other context, people are okay with this. It's only when Black Americans want to defend themselves and people saying, well, why did he have a knife? Remember, they're not saying that the knife was illegal. And I'm about to pull that up so we can see how much of a knife culture Texas has. Why did he have a knife, huh? Like, what are you talking about? People in Texas, they're the ones who pride themselves over my cold dead hands, over my cold dead body. You ain't gonna tread on my rights. That's what they pride themselves on. Now they're saying, why did he have a knife? Type in, don't take my word for it, look in. Young kids shooting competitions. You'll see kids 10 years old, 12 years old in shooting competitions. And then they'll talk about knives. They're training their kids to take firearms apart at 10 years old. They're training their kids to hunt and slaughter live animals at 10, 12 years old. And then they're talking about, but why did he have a knife? And the knife that he had was a little baby blade. He didn't have some Rambo K-bar. He didn't have some tactical military switchblade. He had a little baby knife. Come on. He wasn't running around with a samurai sword. And Technique says he defended himself. He wasn't trying to ill that demon. Carmelo was defending himself. Yeah, this was a case of self-defense. I'm trying to be objective with it. Yes, Carmelo shouldn't have escalated it, but at the same time, you can't tell people how to defend themselves. And once Texas has already prided themselves on a stand your ground culture, and in order to defend yourself, it's not just about fearing that you will be unalived. It's also about fearing bodily harm. If there's some 6'1" muscular pound linebacker willing to pound and pummel you, you don't have a duty to retreat, right? And they're saying, well, why didn't he just leave? No, why didn't Austin just mind his business? There was testimony that Carmelo said, nobody has a problem with me being here but you. The snake dude, Eddie, called him over. The same dude that said, hey, I don't even really know Melo like that. I don't know no Melo. And then they pulled up photos like, yeah, bro, actually, you do know Carmelo. You know what I mean? He threw him under the bus and stabbed him in the back. Now, I know a lot of people are overlooking that. Yes, these people still gotta live in the community, right? So many people like the Anthony family has been facing death threats and all the stuff. There's speculation. There's allegations that the Metcalf family knows the DA and the judges and all this stuff. But this is what you call W supremacy. This is what you call an injustice system, right? Karmelo Anthony was attacked by a big, muscular person acting in a thuggish way. A frail, and we're supposed to, and that's not self-defense for him to, exercise his rights and use a little baby blade, right? But we're supposed to believe that not only one, but two Asians, an older and a younger Asian, running down a 14-year-old black kid for the length of a football field and change 130 yards and shooting him in the back. That is self-defense, right? Nobody got punched, right? Let's just say that he stole the water. He didn't steal the water, but let's just say that he did steal the water. It's self-defense for them to run down a kid the length of a football field and shoot him in the back. That's considered self-defense. But a 6'1", team captain linebacker putting his hands on you and you defend yourself suddenly. No, you premeditated that. He didn't wake up saying that, hey, look, this is what's going to happen. Man, I'm going to find me the first linebacker I see and plunge this knife in his heart. That's not what happened. And you said if they would have fought Austin and he would have died What would have been the difference? Same thing, self-defense. You can die in a fight. And this is what I always tell people. There's no such thing as a fair fight. People, like when I was young, we did used to use terms like that, shoot the fair one. But there's no such thing as a fair fight. That's why people are going to use any means necessary to win the fight. That's what it is. The fight is a competition. It's a civic battle. It's really a mini war. You know what I mean? Like a more violent form of jousting, because anything could happen in a fight. People will grab your nuts in a fight. What is fair about that? People will poke and eye gouge you. What is fair about that? Spit in your face. What's fair about that? Pull your hair. What's fair about that? Getting you in a headlock, you tap out and you can't breathe and they still hold the headlock. What is fair about that? You fight a dude and this person has 30 years of jujitsu training. How is that a fair fight? This dude is 6'5", 270 pounds, and you're 5'8", 130 pounds. What is fair about that? I can go on and on and on, because there's no such thing as a fair fight. If both of you guys are evenly matched, you're 5'10", he's 5'10", you 150, he's 150, and y'all fighting, and then he picks up some dirt and throws it in your eyes. What's fair about that? We fighting and I pull out some pepper spray. Is that fair? We fighting and this person pulls out a blade. Is that fair? Technically it is, right? Because there's no such thing as a fair fight. Unless it's sanctioned in a specific way, people are tested and, okay, cool, you guys are in the same weight class. There's no such thing as a fair fight. If somebody gets you on the ground and bangs your head on the concrete, what's fair about that? You're fighting somebody one-on-one, and because it's their brother, their cousin jumps in. There's no such thing as a fair fight. Yes, this case is just a quintessential example of Caucasian privilege. That spedo crap is undeniably cultural for them. It's popping up everywhere. Yeah, but people are not talking about that. He was screwed everywhere around. Yes, unfortunately, yes, this is what you call railroaded. And Kimberly, you see it for what it's worth. His lawyer was part of the good old boy network. The defense that he put up there was pathetic. You've seen people like the late, great Johnny Cochran take cases where they're like, there's no way he can win this case. And he said, hey, hold my beer. Watch me cook. This other dude was already conceding, and he's pretending as if he put the best case forward, and now he's gonna get a crap ton of money for that pathetic defense. And all he has to say was, hey, this was a capital trial, this is the going rate, this is a highly publicized and sensational case. And then suddenly he's going to be getting clearly multiple hundreds of thousands for that pathetic defense that he put up for our brother Karmelo. And this isn't about absolving Karmelo. Many people thought that he was going to be found guilty. People weren't expecting him to be found guilty of murder. Now, I was expecting it just because I knew how this was a kangaroo court, and there's a litany of reasons that we'll get into. It's just, this is a travesty. But we've been joined by, where the heck have you been? Hey, Tay-Bay. Tay-Bay. Where you been, Tay-Bay? You said, I think he fell on the knife. That's more plausible, because he was charging. Like I said, he was a dude acting in a thuggish way. They keep saying, see, why do they keep emphasizing that Karmelo? They keep saying, hey, well, Karmelo threatened him. Karmelo said, touch me and see what happens, right? And then he touched him. It's like I said, hey, touch this electric fence and see what happens. And then you touch the fence. What are you gonna blame? The sign? The person who's charging the electric fence? There was a clear warning there. As well as Karmelo could have walked away, Austin could have walked away, but he's a bully. This should be a lesson. Okay, fine. Let's make it a lesson about impulse control. We can talk about the impulse control that Karmelo could have. Yes, Karmelo should have and could have walked away. However, there were multiple people involved. Why didn't Austin the bully walk away? And this person, Eddie P, come on now, there's no footage. There's no footage. The dude, Eddie P, said he thought it was funny. So he filmed out and he pretended to record. Now, anybody that's been in high school, a lot of people was in high school and they didn't have a cell phone that could record 4K. So many people, once you saw a fight, you just had to recall it based on memory. And then people had to say, hey, so-and-so got beat up down by the bleachers. You know what I mean? Now you mean to tell me that there's no footage? Well, clearly there is, because some people seen footage and now you'll probably see videos start miraculously popping up. This is usually what happens. They'll convict someone and then the video footage will pop up 2 or 3 years later, right? So apparently this Eddie dude who was right there, he said he pulled out his phone and pretended to record. Who would do that when people are going back and forth saying, man, fuck you, I'll beat your bitch ass. All right, run up on me then, you little bitch. Like, that's the type of conversation that was going on. No young teen will pull out a phone and say, I'm a fake record this. But that's what you're convinced, because they were asking Eddie, hey, where's the footage? And he said, oh, I didn't really record it. I just pretended to record it. And then he said that the cops said that they asked him for his phone and checked it. And it was this cockamamie story. And there's no footage. Then it's alleged that there was a threat that if any footage was leaked, that these people would face some sort of penal punishment as well. So they don't mind if you see George Floyd watch that video for 8 minutes. I mean, people seen Charlie Kirk allegedly get shot in the neck. We've saw these alleged assassinations on Trump. How many countless videos? If you go on X, you see a bunch of people in Gaza where little kids are getting their limbs amputated with no anesthesia. A bunch of little kids are getting bombed and bombarded. So they have no problem showing violence and stuff, but somehow they don't want to release the video for this. But they didn't need to release the video because they already knew that the fix was in. This is what you call a kangaroo court. The blade was 3 inches long and the wound was only 2 inches. Yeah. Like I said, Austin was an athletic, muscular figure. He was threatening to beat this is what was reported. Austin threatened to beat Karmelo's bitch ass. All you keep hearing, Karmelo threatened him. Austin threatened Karmelo and then put his hands on him. Putting your hands on someone isn't assault. Assaulting someone is a crime. And then once they concede that, yes, Karmelo was assaulted, then they say, yeah, but it has to be proportionate. Well, guess what? There's not a proportionate amount of force coming at Karmelo. To all the ladies in the chat, don't take my word for it. Ask the ladies. If the ladies in the chat had an opportunity to choose a bodyguard, hey, you can choose one bodyguard to protect you, ladies. Do you think they're going to choose the 5'8", 130-pound dude or the 6'1", 220-pound dude? We all know the answer. And guess what reason they will say, oh, I feel more protected with this 6'1" dude. But suddenly we're supposed to pretend as if Karmelo Anthony was just this, angry, thuggish 5'8" dude that had this Napoleon complex, and he came with the fire in his eyes to murder Austin. Nobody really believes that, except for the jury, except for the people in Frisco. Do they really believe that? So let me pull up some things right here, man. Like I said, this one will be a very controversial but emotional stream. So let me pull this down right here. Because people keep acting stupid. Why did he have a knife? Okay, do y'all know what type of culture they have in Texas? This isn't just Texas, but since we're talking about Texas, let's talk about Texas. Texas has a distinctive knife culture rooted in its history, frontier identity, and a strong embrace of individual rights similar to its pro-Second Amendment environment, though knife carry remains regulated in specific contexts. Now, Texas knife culture traces back to the 19th century with iconic blades like the Bowie knife, which became symbols of self-reliance, personal defense, and frontier honor. This is the state of Texas culture on knives. This history was contributed to social acceptance of knives, both as utilitarian tools and expressions of independence and preparedness. The modern cultural imaginations of knives are associated with outdoor activities, ranch work, personal defense, reflecting a broader ethos of self-sufficiency. If someone has a apple right now, people use knives to cut apple slices. There's multiple times, oh, you just got a package from Amazon. You don't have a box cutter. You got your knife on you to open the box. Now, Texas knife laws have progressively aligned with the state's Pro 2A stance. So the House Bill 1862 in 2013, this legalized automatic knives, which are switchblades. The House Bill 1935 in 2017, it repealed a category of illegal knives, allowing virtually all knives to be owned and carried, with the main limitation of being blade length in certain locations. So in Texas, they don't care about you having knives. They say, okay, you just have to have the right length. And Karmelo's knife was the right legal length, which is why they're not talking about the illegality of the knife. All they're talking about is, why did he have a knife? He has a knife because this is Texas culture. HB 2239 and knife law preemption introduced location restricted knives, blades over 5.5 inches, which Karmelo's knife was less than that. It cannot be carried in sensitive areas like schools, bars, government buildings, while maintaining statewide uniformity via preemption. Now, they can try to say, okay, oh, well, he shouldn't have had it at a school. Where they weren't at a school. They were at a school event, which is not a school. Now, you can try to frame it and say, yeah, it was a school. It was a place where people are going to be. Yeah, it wasn't a school. But even if it was at a school, you wouldn't get a murder charge simply for bringing a knife to school. And what would that charge be for illegal possession of a knife? Most likely, especially for a minor at the time, it wouldn't be a felony. Now, despite broad legal permissiveness, practical knife culture in Texas remains nuanced. While legal clearance exists to own and carry large blades, purchases in daily use often reflect practical needs rather than performative display of rights. So people have these blades for practical needs. This is part of the culture, right? So, for instance, specialty knives like daggers or push daggers receive occasional attention in stores, but mainstream knife ownership aligns with outdoor work, utility, and self-protection. And that's what Karmelo had it for, self-protection. But there's a culture in America to use knives for utility. Now, local attitudes, business policies, and law enforcement discretion can influence real-world knife usage, creating a culture where knowledge of the law and responsible carry are highly valued. So, in summary, while knife culture is not solely a product of its Pro 2A politics, the state's broad knife laws and historical appreciation for arms have fostered a distinct environment where knives are socially normalized, historically iconic, and functionally respected. Knife culture in Texas is therefore a blend of legal permissiveness, frontier heritage, self-defense values, and cultural identity, with legislative reforms shaped in tandem with firearm rights advocacy. So again, why are people pretending that they don't know this? Why did he have a knife? He's from Texas. That's why. So, oh snap, what the hell? Man, am I seeing this? Don't tell me, is it the cataracts, Malik? Is that really you? Hey, what up, Dunny? What up with the big dog? So salute to Malik and the East Coast brethren. So Tutney says, I believe they're using all of this to either goad us into reacting, justify declaring open season on us, or is it because they're convinced we won't do anything? Damned if you do, damned if you not. Yeah, this is exactly what it is. This is the sand between a rock and a hard place, right? So if you do react and they say, see, low impulse control, look at the blacks chimping out. All y'all do is riot, boycott, and protest. You know what I mean? Then if you don't do anything, see, y'all weak. The community don't stick together. Other groups do this. Y'all ain't stick together. You know what I mean? And then there's going to be a balance of tap dancing sambos, of tethers, people in these interracial relationships. Like, you want to boycott some Asian or non-black businesses, a dude to come up and has an Asian baby mama and say, stop Asian hate. You know what I mean? So it's all of these types of things, you know what I mean? You'll have the Congressional Black Immigrant Caucus say, now we all need to come together now, and let's just all have a people of color fish fry. You know what I mean? So it's been open season on us. It always will be open season on us. Many of us have our head in the sand and we are confused about what type of political climate we're in. We're in a race war. Just the whole concept of race, because they say it's a social construct and it's a construct that everyone adheres to. But you always just have to ask yourself, what is the objective of a race? People want to win the race, and usually people try to win the race by a landslide. In a perfect utopia world, people would say, hey, let's race and all, let's be, a united frontier, and we'll all cross the line at the same time. People could do that in a race, but is that what people opt to do? No, I'm better than you and I want to beat the race, and I don't want to just beat you. I want to destroy you in a race. I want to obliterate you in a race. That's how it is when it comes to these racial, ethnic, economic politics. Now, people won't word it like that because it will take the mask off of things, but we need people to take the mask off and stop pretending. This is why I would prefer someone running around saying, hey, we don't like you niggers and we don't want you niggers to shop. I would prefer that they have more businesses that says no niggers allowed, not because that's how I want my people to be treated, but that's how these people actually feel about us. You know what I mean? So they'll take your money and then they'll call you a nigger under your breath, or, maybe have someone spit in your food, or, maybe they won't cook your food as good as someone else, or maybe they'll hire you and you won't get as paid as someone else, right? Nah, if you have these establishments that say, hey, we hate niggers and no niggers allowed, then that will force people to deal with reality and say, damn, man, we all we got, but we all we need. So I don't want to shop where I'm hated at, but instead people will go and have an interracial relationship, because they are, with some Becky or some Karen, then they don't want to call out white supremacy because, that will feel like I'm talking about Karen's dad. And, I don't want to have a rocky relationship with Karen. So I'm not going to call out white supremacy because all of Karen's family are white and they're not all bad. And like, no one is saying that all people are bad. Talking about white supremacy is about a system. It's not saying every individual white person is bad. However, the majority of people, not just white people, they're complicit with it because silence is complicity. If there was someone in your family and you knew that they were a disgusting pedo that was molesting kids and forcibly penetrating them, and then you didn't say or do anything about it. You couldn't just simply say, hey, well, I never touched any kids. Yeah, but you knew what was going on and you did nothing about it. So that's all these people say. Hey, I'm not racist. I don't call black people nigger. Yeah, but people in your family do, and you don't do anything about it because it's an uncomfortable conversation to bring up during Thanksgiving dinner. And you're like, do I want to ruin Thanksgiving dinner to be perceived as an N-word lover? You know what I mean? Hey, but I'm not like my family. Yeah, but you know that your family is a judge or the police chief. So it's not just your family has these anti-black views. Your family has anti-black views, and they hold prominent positions of power where they get to be judge, jury, and executioner to the black community. And then you try to pretend and say, hey, well, because I never called a black person an N-word, you guys need to get over slavery. And they love to try to harp and fixate on slavery when they know it's deeper than that, right? I never owned any slaves. Yeah, but you went to the lynchings. You had postcards of people lynching, right? A bunch of people that said no niggers allowed in the Jim Crow South. They never owned any slaves, but they hated black people. So that's also like one of the most weak and pathetic arguments ever. Because if you really press people on the I never owned any slaves talking point, they'll concede that if they were in that time and they had the means, that they would have owned slaves. So what the hell is the point of making that? I never owned any slaves. Yeah, because you couldn't afford them. But if you could have afforded a slave, you would have had no issues owning them. So how about you say that? Say it with your full chest. And we've been joined by Red6 in the mix like Twix. Born and raised in Texas. My pops walked around with a pocket knife daily. This is what I'm saying. Red6, what part of Texas you in? This is just getting like extremely pathetic. Why did he have a knife? He had a knife because that's what the culture is there. There's nothing wrong with having knives. It's just like asking, why did he have a gun? Because just like you people love to say, over my cold dead hands, don't tread or infringe on my rights. There's nothing wrong with having firearms. And yes, you should have impulse control and use them in only absolute imminent situations, but that's not up for me or you to say. If right now, if I say, hey, you want to watch this UFC fight? There's a 5'8", 130-pound dude fighting a 6'1", 220-pound dude. People will be like, bruh, that ain't no fair fight. But suddenly they want it. Hey, why didn't he leave? Why didn't he fight? No, why is this dude bullying them? So bullies go around trying to bully people, and sometimes people carry the great equalizer. And he says, I have a small Swiss Army knife on my chain. Yeah, on the keychain. I got this keychain. I damn near lost it. I need to get it again. But it has like a rope and like a mini ball on it. And like, bro, if you hit somebody with that ball, it's going to be cookies, lights out. But then there's also, I have like I think it's called a carabiner or carabiner. I don't know how you pronounce it, but basically you click it onto your keychain, but it clicks onto your like your belt loop. And then it folds out into a knife. So I'm all for having whatever you need to defend yourself. It's not about being cowardly. Like I told you, there's no such thing as a fair fight. If somebody runs up on you and you're a 50-year-old dude or a 60-year-old dude, and it's some in shape 24-year-old dude just saying, shut up, old man, I'll beat your ass. There's nothing fair about that fight. You feel me? So you're going to have something to equalize it. Maybe you may be, the greatest 60-year-old or 50-year-old in shape, but nobody would pick a 50-year-old to beat up a 24-year-old. But that 24-year-old, they're not going to necessarily have mercy on you just because you're 50. They're going to be, shut up, old man, I'll beat your ass. You know what I mean? That's the same thing that Austin was doing. Like, bro, look at this little pipsqueak, little 130-pound dude, bro, I'll beat your ass. I'm a team captain. I'm a linebacker. And what Austin was reportedly said was, bro, I'll beat your bitch ass, not just ass. He called him a bitch. I'll beat your bitch ass. And then, but somehow that wasn't a threat. He didn't just say that. He said, "I'll beat your bitch ass," and then he assaulted them. Then they're saying he lightly pushed them. Does this make any sense to you? A captain of the team that's a linebacker tells a smaller guy that I'm gonna beat your bitch ass, and the way he beats his bitch ass is to lightly push him. Nobody, think of all of the bullies that you went to school with. Think of any of the linebackers that were on the team. If they got into a fight, could you recall any fights where they lightly pushed someone? It doesn't even make sense. Hey, I'm going to beat your bitch ass. And then you kind of like caress him on the shoulder. But that's, what you're supposed to believe happened, right? Austin said, "I'm going to beat your bitch ass." And then he rubbed Karmelo on the shoulder. And then Karmelo chimped out and stabbed him in the chest. Okay. I thought the track was on school grounds. Well, I don't know if it was because they have different tracks. Some schools I know, they have separate tracks or they have fields dedicated just for track. So either way, whether it was on school grounds, it still was a school event. So they'll still say that it was illegally there. Still, that's not a capital charge, though. That's usually considered a misdemeanor. Yeah, no, I appreciate you, bro. I mean, if you want to join, oh, okay. He said, "Am I dropping the link?" Hold on. I wasn't gonna drop the link because this is not a topic that I want to play around with cats like trolling. But yeah, I'll drop the link right now. Hold up. I actually was gonna react to a video, but the chat has been chatting, so I salute to y'all. So I'll drop the link there. If I don't know you, you're gonna have to cam up only in the back just so I could see that you real. You don't have to stay on cam. But yeah, I've had a lot of cats that try to, get your boy channel taken down. It's like, bruh, I'm already shadow banned. I'm already shadow banned and cats trying to get me taken down. You know what I mean? I guess because it's too much cooning and buffooning. They don't want to hear from that real ism. So yeah, I dropped the link. He said, "Why did Rittenhouse have a gun?" They're not asking that. They only keep saying, but Rittenhouse shot some pedos. The dudes he shot, he didn't know that they were pedos. Like, he just was there acting in a deranged way. The only reason why he shot those people was because they were BLM protesters. So he was on record saying that, man, I wish I was at these protests. I would have shot some people. Then he goes to protest and shoot some people. And he doesn't just shoot people, he unalives people. But somehow that was self-defense. It wasn't premeditated. And the court didn't even allow that video to be added into evidence. But these are the kangaroo courts as well. And this is why we need an actual competent and a loyal lawyer class. Right now, what we have is a bootlicking, buck-broken, brain-dead, boule misleadership class where all they care about is their own advancement, their own career advancement. We need to cancel these people. The National Action Network, the NAACP, all of these performative Jasmine Crockett's, Al Green, all these people are in Texas. You heard Jasmine Crockett crashing out for undocumented immigrants who came here illegally. Did you hear her crashing out for Karmelo? No one is saying to crash out. Now, many say that Karmelo should have just walked in general, but most people were saying, okay, look, man, he should walk on the murder charge. And if he gets manslaughter, maybe they give him 5 years. You know what I mean? He serves like 3.5. Nobody would be talking about that's a travesty of justice. They had the option to choose manslaughter and they said, hell no, he murdered that kid. And people trying to make it about race. If it was flipped, if there was some 6'1", 220-pound black dude harassing some little frail white kid who looks like Macaulay Culkin from Home Alone, and the white kid, had to defend himself, we wouldn't even be here. So we live in a colorblind society, don't make it about race. All these people, Fox News, Megyn Kelly, all of the bigots and bozos, all they've done is make this case about race. And you in the DF dub, so Dallas Fort Worth, right? If spitting is assault, then what is pushing? Yes, spitting on someone is assault. If you have your phone in your hand, that's attached to your body. If someone smacks your phone out your hand, they've assaulted you. So again, we're supposed to believe this dude was a captain linebacker. We're supposed to believe that this 6'1", all the pictures you see, the dude looks buff. He looks jacked. Most grown men aren't 6'1". The average height of men in America, I think, is like either 5'9" or 5'10". Most grown men in America are not 6'1", 200 plus pounds. He's larger than the average grown man as a teenager. Most grown men, if they see a grown man sees another grown man that's 6'1" and 200 pounds, most grown men are like, I want to fight this dude. But we're supposed to look at Karmelo and say, yeah, he should have fought this dude who was bigger than him. Yeah, maybe he should have, right? He should have shot the fair one. But then again, there's no such thing as a fair one. There's nothing fair about 130 pounds versus 220 pounds. You know, it's an unfortunate situation. You know what I mean? Austin still should be here. And this is a dereliction of duty on the teachers and whatever track establishment. You know that these boys have this testosterone and are very hormonal and emotional. Where the flip were the teachers. You know what I mean? So this is a tragedy. Yeah, you know what I mean? I usually be cooking by myself, you know what I mean? I don't usually have no other chefs in the kitchen, because some other cats, they usually need a panel and all this stuff. But a lot of that panel is just for like propaganda and spits and giggles. But it's like, I'm not here to play games. The Metcalf family had all types of family problems. The dad was abusive. And if I'm not mistaken, one of the twins had to get physical with them. Dysfunctional family dynamics. Exactly. The Karmelo Anthony family had more money than the Metcalf family. They were better off. You know what I mean? They were more educated. They were raising their son the right way. And many of us, if your mom told you, hey, now, don't be cutting no school now. Don't be doing this. Your mom raised you the right way. And then when you cut school, that wasn't on your mama. His dad didn't raise him to go to school with a knife. He just did his own thing. However, with the Metcalfs, we don't know how they were raised because their dad was degenerate and their family dynamics were dysfunctional. Karmelo Anthony wasn't being raised in a dysfunctional household. Somehow this narrative is not being brought up. But we look like we've been joined. Hold on. Before I bring you up, let me pull this.
This me. I don't troll, dog.
Oh, okay, cool. I was like,
I ain't going. I would never do you like that, my guy. Never.
Okay, I appreciate that, because Malik, bro, I almost had to hit. I was like,
Who the hell are you?
No, I don't play them kind of games, my guy, at all. Not at all.
got you. I respect it. Go ahead, Malik.
First, this is sad on a lot of angles, a lot of avenues on both sides. So it's a tragedy for both people. I'm starting to get more moving parts as the days come about. And I think shortly we will be able to order the transcript. I want to actually read the transcript because I heard today that it really wasn't a knife. It was like a Swiss Army tool, but you could like tighten your cleats with the joint because they were at the track meet and something to that effect.
Yeah, I've heard. Yeah, they've made conflicting stories of that, and it's a lot of suspicion because usually this is not a federal case, so usually it's open to the public and everything. So they banned public reporting. They didn't allow any cameras. They were very tight-lipped on that. And now you got to really think about other trials, right? Look how televised the OJ trial was, and I'm not trying to say that that's apples to apples, but I'm saying like that one was highly publicized. Now they're trying to hide behind behind some people were minors and all this other stuff, but there have been other multiple cases involving minors where they didn't have these gag orders and have all this stuff. And I'm trying to, obviously not be just super biased, because that's what people are doing. They're trying to be racially biased and all this stuff. I will say that, okay, yeah, he shouldn't have done this and all this stuff, but you can't only do that one way when multiple people are involved, right? We can say that the teacher shouldn't have left them unattended, right? We can say that Austin shouldn't have been bullying, and there's a reason why they say keep your hands to yourself. Don't start none, won't be nothing. F around and find out. All of these terms, and people, we know and understand them, and it doesn't make it right. You know what I mean? Go ahead, Malik. You got it, bro.
I can't disagree with you on that. But my thing is this. You mentioned Senate Bill, I think it's 2239 or 23. You mentioned the Texas Senate Bill and how it states that you can't have knives about a certain length on.
Yeah, over 5.5 inches. Yeah.
But
Senate Bill
federally,
2239.
you can't have weapons on school property, government buildings, state parks, and things of that magnitude. That's a federal law.
Correct.
But I want to take race out of it because everybody keeps going race. And I kind of want to stick to the real picture at hand. They say that these guys had never met before until then, but then they say
that's in question too.
Then they say his friend girl, cousin, and him was cool, and they had been.
They're saying they went on like a double date together, and that and there were pictures that confirmed this. And at least the dude who they were calling EP Eddie Potter, he at first he was lying and saying that, oh, I didn't know Karmelo and we wasn't friends, and then at least only one of the competent things that Karmelo's defense does, he said that, okay, cool, he showed pictures of them hanging together like a few weeks previous. So basically Eddie thrown him under the bus, and the other witnesses had testified that Eddie had called Karmelo over there. So he was like, hey bro, what's up, bro, how you been, man? It's all cool. It was one of those things. But Eddie was kind of like a median, like he knew Karmelo, but then he also knew like the Metcalf twins. And I think he was probably, clearly he sided with them more, but he was the one who invited Karmelo over there. And then he tried to, go ahead.
So now I'm familiar with all that. So let's get to the part because if what I just heard today was true, the boy premeditated this, because now the story is that was a backpack that Karmelo had with some things in it, and one of the things was this, and for conversational purposes, we'll say knife was in the bag. Somehow they snatched the bag from him, and he fights to get the bag back. Have you heard this story?
Go ahead, bro.
No, I'm asking because if you didn't, you kind of like it's going to be kind of strange to you. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying.
I've heard a lot of unsubstantiated stories. I haven't heard any credibility from this story, but go ahead, tell me what you heard.
Okay, but they also said that I think the Austin brother admitted there was a backpack or something. Nevertheless, the struggle goes over the backpack, right? Karmelo gets the backpack back. The backpack got the knife in it. So now, that's the part that sounded a little funny to me, because if you fighting for this backpack, only you know what's in this backpack. So chances are, once you get your backpack back, because you know what's in there, you're going to handle your business. So if that's the story, and when we can finally get clarity on it, Again, see now it becomes premeditated because he went to the event with the, and for conversational purposes again, I'll say the knife in his bag. If it's something that's common use in Texas, why not just have it on your person? See, that's what I'm saying. There's so many moving parts, easy, and I'm not disputing any of them because I really don't know because I wasn't there.
So what is the difference you say between having it in your bag is the same as having it on your person because you have the bag on you. He's carrying his bag with him.
But once they took the bag from him, but once they took the bag from him, he doesn't have the bag anymore.
But the bag is containing a device, a tool that's going to be used to defend himself. That's not. See,
but again, only he knows what's in the bag. That's what I'm saying, B-Eazy. And let's be clear, right? And for those who know.
Yeah, but how is that any different from any other weapon? Let's just say it wasn't a knife. Let's just say it was brass knuckles. Only he would know the brass knuckles is in there. Let's say it was pepper spray. And he had to get to his bag. Only he would know it was pepper spray in there.
Because
so all you're saying is that it was just a different weapon.
No, all I'm saying, B-Eazy, is again, if that's what's in the bag, he knew what was in there so he could do what he did. It's like B-Eazy, and I think that
we don't clearly know exactly what he did because the testimony, even the little bit that they released, the testimony was all over the place. First, they were lying, and mind you, Karmelo Anthony was sitting down the whole time. Come on, now, bro. If somebody is there to commit a premeditated murder, nobody is just sitting down calmly under the rain, under the tent, bro.
And that's what I'm saying, B-Eazy, because again, they say Karmelo admits to stabbing him.
Correct. I mean, shouldn't he? That's the honorable thing to do. He said he admitted to stabbing him. He didn't say he admitted to murdering him.
So now, B-Eazy, so again, I'm not disputing anything. I'm saying that Karmelo admits to it. So with that being said, now we know what he did. Also, what I'm saying is, until we get the transcript, because see, to me, it's a lot of speculation here, speculation there, and a lot of assumption. The reason why I'm saying premeditated, because first of all, Texas is a constitutional carry state. So everybody carries openly. That way, it's no secret.
So you're making even more of a case that he should have carried. If it's a constitutional carry, and I just talked about the prominent knife history and culture, and then you keep asking, well, why did he have it? Bro, kids do stuff that's illegal all the time. You wasn't supposed to have alcohol on school campuses. People had it. You wasn't supposed to bring firearms. You wasn't supposed to bring spray cans so people could tag up lockers. You wasn't supposed to bring any of this stuff on school grounds. People still did it because your mom told you not to cut school, not to do drugs. You did all of that stuff. So kids break laws.
So now, okay, B-Eazy, if kids break laws, how come kids can't suffer a consequence? See, that's what I'm saying.
No,
that's
they
like
are suffering.
Okay. All right.
So
I'm gonna let you talk.
Let me just say this real quick.
We gotta do it the right way. Go ahead, champ. You first.
No, I was saying, no, I'm not saying most people I see, there's some people that are saying he should have been got off clean, scot-free. The majority of people wasn't expecting him being charged with manslaughter would have been accountability. I don't think that they sufficiently made the case for murder. It was just a lot of propaganda. It was a bunch of people thinking like you on a jury who just want to railroad and hang this kid. If you're looking at it objectively, you can say there were other options. They could have said this was criminally negligent homicide, or they could have said this was manslaughter. Now they took criminally negligent homicide off the table because that would have been an even lesser charge than manslaughter. And even if they wanted to charge him with murder, they could have charged him with 5 years. They didn't have to give him 35 years. So it excuse all this other type of stuff, and then you want to talk about premeditated. We can make it seem that Austin was premeditated. Austin came up 5 bleachers. He said, "I'm gonna beat your bitch ass." They were surrounding him. Come on, bro, Malik, bro, you're a smart dude, bro. You already know there's weight classes for a reason.
Okay, so B-Eazy, I'm a smart dude. I'm an intelligent dude. So my man in the chat, Tutneys and RedX, here's why I'm saying it's premeditated. See, first of all, I hate when the chat think I don't know what I'm talking about. So see, first of all, because he had the joint tucked away and he knew what was in the bag, and he admitted, touch me and watch what happened. Because see, what they first teach you when it comes to
that after he got threatened.
Be easy. Hold on.
Go ahead.
See,
you got it.
I'm addressing them, and I'm telling you because I know. First, when it comes to lethal force, you have to meet lethal force with the same thing. If you got a knife and I got a gun, you just S out of luck. That's first and foremost. That's the first thing they teach you in the class. When you get your paperwork, you know what I'm talking about. So see, it's a lot to this. And again, a lot of folks don't know. Because see, again, like I said, B-Eazy, Texas is constitutional carry. And for those who don't know, Texas also has had a crime reduction just like Florida because of how they implemented that gun law. So see, once again, what I'm saying is I'm not on his side. I'm not on nobody's side. I was clear that it's tragic. So you got to look at everything that transpired. Because again, somewhere they said that the boy felt uneasy by even going to the event. So if you felt uneasy going, why go? If you felt threatened, why go? I'm not saying that you got to chump down, but again, if you felt this kind of way, why would you still go through with it? So again, I'm looking at the whole picture because it's parts to this whole thing that we'll never know because the other guy can't say. And it seems like we're going to get a little bit here, a little bit there. Nobody's really going to be able to put it on the table because of the tension level and everything that's involved with the whole thing. But it's rules, it's rules to engagement. You know that you know that
I'll let you go on for hella long, bro, without
okay, you go ahead, my guy. You go. I'm gonna let you rock out. I'm gonna let you rock.
Yeah, because in the chat, and I mean, I dropped the link. Anybody could come up, you know what I mean? And Frank Nitty said, "Why you going in on Mello? Because you keep saying like you trying to see it both sides, but nah, bro, you giving like a super biased perspective, bro. Like what you said don't sound objective. It sound like you already in the tank." And Kimberly says the real question is what evidence was not allowed in pre-trial, and this is the thing. It's a lot of stuff that we don't say. You talked about Mello threatening Austin, but you didn't say anything about Austin, who is a bigger dude. Malik,
no,
I said,
I didn't say who threatened who. I read what the
I'm
dude
saying
said.
I'm saying who said it. Austin is on record because I read this, and this is part of some of the transcripts that have been released. They didn't release everything, but they released it in piecemeal. And it said that Austin said, "I'll beat your bitch ass." So not only did he threaten Karmelo, he said, "I'll beat your bitch ass." And he didn't just push him. One dude said he pushed him like a lineman drill. How you have those lineman machines? He said he had both hands on them and lifted up. Now, of course, the prosecution brought a bunch of Austin's teammates who said, "Oh, Austin only lightly touched them." But come on, man. Nobody thinks that a 6'1" team captain linebacker says, "I'm gonna beat your bitch ass," and then he comes and lightly brushes somebody on the shoulder, bro. Nobody fucking thinks that, bro. So to try to pretend as if it wasn't mutual combat, yeah, okay, cool. We can say he shouldn't have had the knife and all this other stuff. That's why they have lesser charges, manslaughter. They even have a sudden passion thing. You can say that it was premeditated. He didn't go under there saying it's raining and I got my back so I can stab me a motherfucker. Like, come on, bro. Like that's what premeditation is, bro.
Okay,
the situation situation escalated based on Austin escalating it. Hey, what are you doing here, bro? Who is this dude, bro? Get your bitch ass out of here. I'll beat your bitch ass. Hey, bro, touch me and see what happens. And then he comes and touches him, and then you like, he premeditated that. He didn't. And the dude, and this is on the record as well. Karmelo said nobody has an issue with me being there. Karmelo was there talking to this Eddie P Latino dude for like 5 minutes. So clearly nobody had an issue. The only issue was this big muscular dude who comes over there with his other equally muscular twin brother. And you're just like, nope, nothing to see here.
So now I heard the word was that Karmelo said he felt uncomfortable going. So I never heard that somebody had an issue. I did hear that the twins were kind of bullying him in the sense of a jock play, so to speak, from how they said it. But again,
correct.
Bullying can mean a lot of different things to some people. So now
self-defense can mean a lot of different things to some people.
Now that part, because the law classifies self-defense as one thing. Use of deadly force is classified as another. And the reason why I use premeditated, because they kept mentioning the bag had gotten away from Karmelo. And because me and you have had conversation before, and we spoke on some things.
Hold on. You said the bag had gotten away. How did the bag get away? It wasn't like they said, hey, please, brother. They were fighting and beating them, right?
So no, they said somebody took the bag from Karmelo.
That's an assault.
They never said a fight escalated. If you said that it was mutual combat, and
bro, taking someone's stuff is an assault, bro. What are you? That's considered an aggravate. Come on,
Malik, bro. I didn't say it wasn't considered an assault. I'm repeating what you said. You said it was mutual combat. Did you or did you not just say that?
Correct.
Okay, so if it was mutual combat, that means we going fisticuffs.
It was mutual combat that Austin. No, combat doesn't mean fist fight. That's what you've been raised to think. There's no one. If you look up the term combat, the combat doesn't say fist fight. It just doesn't, bro. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't have fist fight. In a perfect world, yes, they should have fist fought. But then again, that's what you want to see. There wouldn't have been anything fair about it, right? It wasn't fair for Karmelo Anthony to pull a knife, and it wasn't fair for a 6 foot, 220-pound dude to be attacking 130. There's nothing fair about that. Would you want to see a boxing match of Floyd Mayweather versus Lennox Lewis? Come on, bruh. There's weight classes for a reason, bruh.
Again, B-Eazy. Size don't necessarily mean you're gonna beat a boxing match.
No, it doesn't.
Okay, my guy, go ahead. They want me to let you rock out because this your channel, so I'm gonna let you.
Go ahead, bro.
I'm gonna let you rock out. I'm gonna let you rock out.
Bro, you've been rocking out. You've had ample time to speak, bro. But like, go ahead, say what you gotta say.
No, because see, apparently you got this misconception, and I'm not even worried about your chat that I'm saying things I'm not saying. I'm just telling you how I'm looking at it. And again, I know what it is about the lethal force. So again, it's a lot of moving elements when it comes down to you pulling out a weapon and using it in the magnitude to where you're using lethal force. You have to justify that. And if nobody believes that, or they think I'm just saying that off the cuff because I'm crazy, then so be it. But anybody who knows, who carries and understands what they teach you about lethal force, there are parameters to it. That's just like if I catch you breaking into my car, B-Eazy, and I turn around and walk 2 steps and get the gun out my mailbox, that's premeditated. Because I left and came back. I turned away from it. Would you agree?
I mean, it's all up for interpretation. Have you seen what happened recently with that Rick Chow case in South Carolina?
First of all,
Was that
first of
premeditation or
all,
not?
no,
I
he
just need
shot
a
the
yes
man
or
in the
no.
Be-Eazy. He shot the man in his back. He's dead wrong. You can't shoot a man in the back.
So was that premeditation? This is what I'm asking you.
That was flat out wrong. It was no way he should
But
have beat that.
so why do you think he did beat it?
I don't know all the ins and outs, but apparently somewhere
You
somebody
know
just
why
let it.
he beat it, because of who he killed.
Okay, so
It was a young black kid. That's why.
okay,
If
Be-Eazy, you know
if it
what?
was a young,
All right.
if he had gunned down a young Jewish kid, you know he wouldn't have beat that. You already know, bro. If you use your logic and sensibility.
Okay, so you right, Be-Eazy. It was because he was a young black kid, and he just shot the black kid in his back, and nobody cared. Okay, you got that. Karmelo going to jail just because he African American and he killed the white man. You got that too.
No, I'm not saying that's the only reason why. I'm saying that's playing a factor. These are two different cases, but it's still in the same crooked, corrupt system. And I'm just showing that the standards are not equally applied. Even the logic is not equally applied. A black dude running who allegedly has a firearm that falls out, he's considered a threat. But a big muscular linebacker beating you up, you're not supposed to fear for your life. You're just supposed to duke it out like we did in the old days. Like, come on, man.
Okay, I never said that.
I'm not saying you. I was making a generalized argument. I wasn't putting that on you.
Okay. So again, I'm clear that the Chinese man or Asian man who shot that man in his back, he should have been given a consequence for that action, because you cannot shoot a man who's leaving the scene in his back. That's law. That's law.
Okay, so what do you think?
That wouldn't. Go ahead, yo.
Now I want to ask you about the Karmelo. What do you think about them purging all the black jurors? So they went through 600 people total, and they purged all of the black jurors. And then
So there's three school teachers. I know about the 3 school teachers. Who were the other 3? That's what I'm saying. I heard them talk about the 3 school teachers.
Yeah, so they purged this. Forget the school teachers. Not everybody was a school teacher. They purged all the black people, and not only
I heard about the black school teachers. That's what I'm saying. They were black,
but they had white teachers though.
Okay, I didn't know that. I just heard everybody.
No, that's what I'm trying to tell you. I'm not trying to scold you. I'm asking you, like, what do you think about this?
Okay, so the other,
you don't think the fix was in? You don't think that's improper?
Hold on. So the other 3 people were dismissed for what reason? Because when it comes to picking a jury, it's rules rules to it, and it's the way that the defense and the prosecution pick the people for the jury for their benefit both ways. Each way. Let me say it that way. So again, that's why I'm asking you. The other 3 people were dismissed for what reason? Because they were black, or it was more to it?
I mean, what do you think?
I'm asking because I don't know. I only know about the 3 that everybody kept saying were black school teachers. I'm asking you. I'm asking you because I don't know what nationality the other 3 was, why they were dismissed. I don't know anything about it. So I can't give you my opinion on what I don't know. And I just can't say,
no, I understand that.
Yeah, they got rid of them because I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what people believe, you know what I mean? But it's one of those things where it's practice in common law, so people want it written in very plain law, you know what I mean? So it's one of those things. But I mean, it's neither here nor there. It sounds like, you know, your mind is made up. So you agree with Karmelo Anthony getting 35 years then because it was premeditated. So if you think it was premeditated, do you think that Karmelo should have got life?
Well, they didn't even give him premeditated. I'm speaking on the act of the bag, and what was in the bag was premeditated. But again, they're not even putting that into the equation. It was just
that's why I'm asking based on your perspective.
So now, because in my opinion, Go ahead, my
Yeah,
guy. Go
your
ahead, my guy.
yeah, I want to set up the question because you said in your opinion you believe it was premeditated. So since based on your
That's not
beliefs,
what I
not
said. I said based upon the bag, you could have looked at it that way. I also said publicly, because we've been talking about this for the last 2 days, that again, I was shocked that the federal government didn't pick it up because of the whole thing being on a school ground. But also I had to remember that in Texas, if Texas didn't want, or Texas probably wanted them to handle the whole thing. And if they didn't get the result that they wanted, I guess the feds would have stepped in, because again, you're talking about a weapon. Now, it's not necessarily a gun, which would have definitely felt totally different in the scenario of the federal government, because the guidelines for that are totally different. Now, in my opinion, should he have gotten a consequence? Yes. I think that they didn't, because I've heard also that they weren't going to give him life because the statute in Texas was what, 5 to 99 years? And I think manslaughter was what, 2 to 10 years?
correct. Yeah, but
Okay.
even
Because
with
they
the
all
murder charge,
because they also wanted, right, because you also mentioned the crime of passion, which I think if I heard right, some
I have
people
it
would,
pulled up on the screen right now. Well, it was a crime of passion, but the way they phrased it, this one was a specific sudden passion. So it's a bit of
right.
semantics, but it's the same thing, saying
So,
that it's not premeditated. It just happened, organically,
okay.
and it's basically a reckless act based on
So,
the scenario, not
okay. So
premeditation.
what's the sentencing guideline for that? Because
Well, the sentencing guideline, it's reduced. It's basically, I mean, it's all up for their discretion. Even forget the crime of passion,
no, no, no,
even
no,
with
no.
murder.
It you like
Be,
a judge when the sentence comes down, that you have a guideline, 5 to this, 2 to that. You can't exceed that, because again, the murder was 5 to 99
yeah, the
years.
crime of
They
passion. I
gave him,
think you can exceed. Yeah, I can't. I think you can exceed like 20 years. Basically, it says it carries a lesser sentence between
okay.
2 and 20 years.
So now, okay. So with that being said, a lot of people figured he was just gonna walk out scot free. I never expected him to get life, nor did I expect him to get 99 years, because they took life off, and I didn't think they were going to give him the max.
But
I
even
was
when they
thinking,
charged a murder, they didn't have to give him 35 years. The like you said, they could have gave him five. It was between 5 and 99 years. Now they could have gave him 5 years. They could have gave him 7. They could have gave him 8, and then he probably would have served in between 3 to 5, 6 years of that. So they didn't have to give him 35. They could have chose manslaughter. The majority of people, yes, there are a small contingent that thought he was going to walk scot free, but the majority of people thought that, okay, cool, he would have had manslaughter 5 to 8 years. He's doing like 3 to 5, and then, hey, it is what it is. But this whole murder and premeditation stuff, I can't rock with that. I don't think the evidence supports that, based
well,
on my observation, research, and analysis.
again, I said that I was thinking they was going to give him 40 years. And to the ex Frank Nitty, they said that he was suspended before for carrying a knife to school.
But they also said that Austin was suspended and he wasn't even supposed to be at the track meet. Now, Karmelo was a captain of the track team. Austin was suspended on the team for bad behavior. So again,
listen to me. I'm
a
reading what
bad
your chat
behaving
saying.
bully.
It's
I'm just saying.
It's bad on both ends. B-Eazy. When you look at it, that's why I said to you, Go ahead, my guy. Go ahead. My guy. I couldn't hear you. Your jack, the jack gave me a little feedback.
I said both. Okay, yeah, no, I said both of them.
Right. So that's why I'm
Could you
saying.
hear me?
Yeah, you said you agreeing it's bad on both ends, like I'm saying. Is that what you
Correct.
said?
This is what I'm trying to
Okay.
say.
Right.
Yes,
So
that's what I said. I said that both of them could have acted differently. However, it sounds like you were being biased. You're not saying what Austin could have done differently. He didn't have to bully this dude. He didn't
and
have to come up
I
and
don't
do all this stuff. Just like we can
so
say Carmelo didn't have to stab him. We can't when there's multiple people involved, we can't only talk about what one person shouldn't have, couldn't have done, right? Because
okay,
and
so
a lot of
now
this are talking about what impulsive teens are doing. Where was the leadership and authoritative figures and stuff? There's not a
okay,
lot of
so let me be
talk
clear.
about what they should have and could have done.
Okay, so let me be clear. I don't condone the bullying thing. I don't. The bullying thing to me was crazy because the first thing I said is when we grew up or when I grew up, even my boys now, I taught them, yo, you put your back to the wall and you fuck one of them up. That's always been how we came up. But again, I'm a lot older than you. So no, I'm not that much older. Maybe a few years. I think we had that convo. So I come from a different generation. But also, again, this guy's level of fear may not be my level of fear or your level of fear. And he may not have been taught the same rules that we were taught. I also think that if what they were saying that he didn't feel comfortable for real going, he should have just stayed away. But again, he probably didn't want it to seem like he was some type of chump or something. Also, I definitely don't agree with the two jocks bullying him, be it the same size or bigger. The whole bullying thing is crazy. But also, again, it's a different age and dynamic now. Like I make it say to you, yo, when I see you, son, I'm gonna kick you in I'm gonna kick you in your chin or something. You may not take that as a threat or take that serious because of the person that you are and what you deem as a threat. So it's like I said again, it's a lot to it. It's tragic. Now, also the part I put out there that a lot of people never thought about. And when I said it, it's going to probably sound crazy to you. But you do realize, B-Eazy,
You saying a lot
that,
of stuff that sound crazy, Malik.
okay, well, I mean, it is what it is, my guy. I'm from B-More. I'm keeping it a buck with you guys, nigga. I'm keeping it a
I'm
buck
not
all day
nigga.
long.
I respect the
Right,
honesty.
right. So again, let's just say he got a year. Let's just say he got no time at all. How long do you think he was going to live? Do you think that Texas wasn't going to lynch him? They weren't going to try to hurt the boy? He definitely would have had to move from Texas. Well, can we agree on that?
Correct. Yeah, no, that's a different argument, but I do concur with that argument.
So again, they also said that the pressure was pushed down on the parents, and the parents switched the lawyer that they had. Did you hear that?
Yeah, it was a
So
lot.
now,
There was death threats.
so let me ask
The
you a
judge,
question
the
though.
DA.
So
Yeah,
now, how can somebody put pressure on you when you got the best lawyer for the case and you change the lawyer and go with I think he went with the public defender they were saying, or a lesser caliber lawyer? Like, I mean, really, that's crazy. So now is the family that much in fear that they say you better change your lawyer or else?
which family are you talking about?
They said the pressure was put on Carmelo's family for his peoples to change the lawyer, and they changed the lawyer from the lawyer they originally had.
Of course, there was pressure put on them. They had to move. There was all sorts of death threats. I mean, everyone was being pressured, and people were being pressured to deliver a particular verdict. And it sounds like, bro, if you would have been on the jury, you would have voted for murder, right? If you was on that jury, let me ask you plainly, would you have voted to convict him of murder? Because remember, you
If I
did say you believe it was premeditated. Because
No,
that
that's
they
I
all
said. Listen
like
to me. Oh, see, I hate to be misquoted, my guy, in the action of the bag because only he knew what was in the bag. That's a premeditated action. That
Bro,
right
that's what I
there.
just
That
said, though. I said that you said it was premeditated.
no, I said
That's premeditative behavior.
if the bag incident was what it was, yes. Because again, he's not innocent because he's getting that bag so he could do
Nobody
work.
said he was innocent, though. Who is
I didn't say
nobody
that you
just saying
said.
he's
I
innocent?
didn't say that. See, you didn't. But everybody else saying it's self-defense. He should have walked out of there
But
because he did.
self-defense don't mean that
Hold
he's
on.
innocent.
You got
Self-defense
me.
means that
You got it, B.
self-defense means
You
he's
got
not
me.
guilty of murder.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
seriously, if you look up the definition of self-defense, it has nothing to do with innocence. That's the
Okay.
argument that people are making, that he self-defended himself, that he's innocent of murder, not that he's some innocent angel that never would harm a fly. You know,
Okay.
that's not the argument people are making, bro.
No,
At least not the majority.
Okay, so I don't know, and to be honest, like I'm gonna say this because the Knicks fit into play. It's sad on both ends.
Go Spurs, go.
I can't call it because I wasn't there. If I was there, I would have more details, so I would have been able to make a better decision as a juror. But I can't call it. I definitely would say for his action, there's a consequence. I'm not gonna say he should have got the building dropped on him, nor do I think 35 years is dropping the building on him. When I've heard how the family did this and that, like I said, if the lawyer they first had stood a way better chance of getting him lesser time than this. Way less time.
That's why I put in my thing. He had weak incompetent defense, who I believe was in the tank. You know what I mean? But like, so what exactly, before you leave, let me ask you this. So like, are you saying that people are getting bullied and stuff, they should just stay there and get beat, or like run while somebody about to beat you, run and get a teacher? Like what is your advice for how people to defend themselves?
I'm not saying that, B-Eazy. And again,
no, that's why I'm asking you. I'm not trying to lead.
So again,
I'm asking you, what advice would you give?
I said it to you before, son. I said it to you before. My whole family strapped like Nike ass. Everybody. Daughter-in-laws, children, everybody.
Why you need a gun, Malik? You don't need no gun.
So let me help you out. It's my constitutional right, ain't it?
But come on, bro. We grew up with fist fights, bro. That's all you need, bro.
B-Eazy, I asked you a question. Is it my right to carry a gun?
Yes, it is. It's your right to do a lot of things.
So now, okay, so am I carrying a gun as a law-abiding American citizen under the Constitution and the Second Amendment?
Yes, as long as you're meeting the legal parameters. Yes.
So therefore, B-Eazy, like I've said to you before, like niggas with short sleeves, I'ma always bear arms. So you got a knife for your self-defense? Mine is a Glock. You choose the weapon of choice for your self-defense. They're no longer.
Isn't that what Karmelo did?
I'm not mad at him, dog. I'm not mad at yo for defending himself. If that's what he felt as though he had,
you're not mad at him. You just would have cooked him with a murder charge. No, I ain't mad at you, bro.
Be easy. I wouldn't have cooked him with a murder charge. Yo, this ain't our first conversation, dog. I told you before. I've told you before. And I remember you saying everybody got one. I got this. So I'm just saying. I'm 52.
Red 6 is from Texas.
I wouldn't care if Red 6 from. So I'm sure in Texas I'm sure he got a Roscoe.
That's what he said. He said everybody got something out there.
So now again, if everybody got something, I guess it's gonna be what it's gonna be.
And that's kind of what people were saying. We live in a dog-eat-dog world, a concrete jungle.
Then
it's going to be what it's going to be.
So if we live in a dog-eat-dog world and you live in Texas and Texas lets you purchase, I suggest you stock up your war pile, my guy.
That would be my suggestion as well. I don't disagree with that.
And if you in California, I suggest you don't get a Glock or AR-15. I
Or
suggest you go get you.
actually, or I think in Baltimore, didn't Governor Westmore just ban Glocks?
Yeah, he banned Glocks. Effective January, you can't buy any more Glocks. I got 8 Glocks already. And the ban
Yeah,
is
so you got the
they going
grandfather
so
clause.
so yeah, and they're banning the Glock 6, the 6th gen, which they're going to release on June 1st. And they're only going to release 3 models. If you don't buy it beforehand, you can't get it. And you can't sell your Glocks or transfer to anybody outside of family. So yes, I just brought one yesterday. I just brought a 19 the other day, and I'm waiting for my other 19 and my 33 to hit the list so I can give my money and pick my gun up.
And what's the magazine restriction out there?
You can't buy a magazine over 10 rounds. However, you can go to Pennsylvania, you can order them. You can't buy them in Maryland with more than 10 rounds.
Yeah, and that's why they banned a lot of Glocks, because people was putting hits on them, to extend.
So,
but yeah, in Texas, I think I mean, you can have stock 17, stock 30, you know what I mean?
Okay, well, there's no such thing as a stock 30 Glock.
No, I'm not saying Glock. I was saying stock 30 rounds.
I don't know if Texas has banned assault weapons. I don't know. I do know that they do carry shotguns in Texas. And Frank Nitty, I didn't say I can't stand my ground. I'm not saying Mello couldn't stand his ground. But let's be clear, Frank Nitty. They teach you that when you stand your ground on the backside, it's some kind of consequence with that. It's a consequence for everything. And they also teach you that you need to be mindful of when you pull it, you're going to use it. Now you have to be prepared for what comes down the pipe. And I don't think his family or anybody told him that part.
And just to be clear, Texas has no statewide limit on the number of rounds a firearm magazine can hold. So yeah, you can have 30 rounds, 50 rounds. Now they do have specific local exceptions, like certain city ordinances. For instance, Dallas, they have their own ban, so you can only have up to like 15 rounds. But yeah, 15 rounds, that's more than 10 in California. And some was even trying to push it to like 8. But yeah, now, again, places like Texas has no limit.
So then, since I think the guy read somebody, why should he ain't have a Roscoe? What's the legal age to buy a Roscoe in Texas?
I believe 18. You can have a shotgun. Or some places maybe 17. It all depends. I think you can do certain stuff as long as it's supervised, but to be legal is, I believe, 18. I'll tell you right now. Yeah, 18.
Oh,
yeah, that's like the federal law. But that's mainly for shotguns and rifles.
So he was 17 when it happened?
Correct.
Okay. Well, hey.
Yeah, but then again, so was Kyle Rittenhouse. Rittenhouse was 17 and he had an illegal firearm, and they were just like, yeah, he killed 2 pedos. No, this is a different story. So this has nothing to do with this. I was just, bringing it up. But
it's tragic. So
yeah.
But
I appreciate that.
I hope he gets a fair appeal.
I hope he has it. That's what I said. I hope he has an appeal and it's a fair kangaroo, not a kangaroo court, a better defense, and also not in a different location, because they're too biased in there. And since all those people that have to live around, there's pressure. There's pressure for those kids to, give a certain testimony. There's pressure for the prosecutors and the DA to rule a certain way.
Well, at least I'm glad your chat and y'all not over here saying it's about the Illuminati and the Masons, because that's what they were saying in some chats, some conversations.
Where
Oh,
the
it's a
hell was
Mason,
you at?
it's a Masonic thing. 6 6. Oh, okay. So you're not familiar with the Mo 3 sector.
I've heard of the Mo 3 sector,
Okay.
but
So
I never know what the ongoings,
okay, so hold
you
on.
know,
Give you
be.
a bridge version. It's a girl on
Okay.
here called Queen 88 Estates.
Okay.
They were boots on the ground through the whole thing.
Oh, I seen some people on there. I didn't see her, but I seen it is so what is her name? Is it Queen what?
It's Queen 88 Estates, but they were dead boots on the ground. Like they was dead there.
Okay.
She talked to
Yeah,
like they
I seen one
16
sister that
million,
was there.
16 million people.
Oh
I mean,
wow.
commentaries, reporters, all that.
Yeah, and shout out to Big Rick Slaps. Appreciate you, bro. If you want to come up, Big Rick, I had dropped the link. Yeah, I did see another sister. Her name was, I think, Neek at Night or something. She was out there.
Yeah,
She was
I
going
think
to the
all in from the
courthouse.
Mo 3. She might
Oh,
be.
got you.
Yeah,
Okay. And she had to have some brothers from the Black Panthers. So I want to salute to the brothers too, because there's all this hoopla. Brothers don't be protecting and stuff. Nah, man. It's like there are some reputable figures that will go out there and, crack a head, behind these sisters. So
then
they
the
were,
Black Panther thing, they
yeah.
said that they came out because Queen 88 and some people that she know. So I'm
Oh,
telling you,
that's
like
what's up.
it's
Okay.
it's been a real big thing, and like I said, it's so many different
It's a
stories
lot
you
of
can
moving
hear.
parts, right?
Right. So my question to you before I leave is: you think he should only gotten 5 years? No, let me say it this way: how much time do you think he should have gotten, if any?
Well, I think there's a case to be made that he shouldn't have got any time, but I don't really need to make that case. I think it was a legitimate case. I think that it should have been criminally negligent homicide. They took that off. So I thought that there could have been a case for manslaughter and then giving that sudden passion, when they said that they capped the sentence off at 2 to 20 years, I could see a world where he was sentenced to anywhere from 5 to 10 years. And then he serves, a significant portion of that, whether it be 3 years, 4 years, whatever, you know what I mean? But even on the murder charge, they had the option to give him 5 years for murder. So if they were hell bent on calling him a murderer, fine. They didn't have to give him 35 years. You know what I mean? They could have gave him 5 years. They could have gave him 8 years. So the 35 years was extremely excessive, you know what I mean, given the circumstances and the evidence, you know what I mean. So that's just based on my observation and analysis and given an objective thing. Like you said, take race out of it. If I'm taking race out of it, I can see something was done, you know what I mean? And the atrocity that was done should be punished in some type of way. Even if somebody would have said he would have walked scot-free, it wouldn't have technically been scot-free because the family would have tried to go after him for civil judgments and try to make his life more of a living hell that way. So there's no such thing as walking away with clean hands and scot-free. But I do believe that he was railroaded. I think that a manslaughter in something under a 10-year sentence where he serves 3 to 5 years of that, I think that would have been reasonable and people wouldn't have been considering that as a travesty.
Okay, I got respect it.
But yeah, you know what I mean? But I'll, let you get to your next game unless you got a closing remark.
No, this was good. Usually you be trying to tell me go get my shine box, and I'll be having to let you know it ain't working like that. But it's always good.
It's all roasting. That's like that's part of the culture. You feel me? We can get heated. We can go back and forth. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's all. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. It's all love. Like I ain't with none of the beef Mo 3 sector, so I don't really have no issue. You feel me? When we say what we gotta say, it's like hashed out the same day, the same instance, because it's like We all got lives. I don't need to linger on and be beefing with, man, remember the shit Malik said 2 streams ago? It's like, the shit ain't really that serious, you know what I mean? And, you know, as long as, you know what I mean, you know, whether we agree, disagree, whatever, as long as we're respectful in our dialogue, then that's ultimately what matters. You don't agree with your wife 100%. You don't agree with your kids, your mama, your dad. So the whole agreeing 100%, like, I think that's a kind of toxic mind virus that people want to hear. There's ways that you can agree respectfully, and then you may start off disagreeing and then find some common ground. So, you know, when you come on over here, anybody, yeah, we may intellectually joust, but it's ultimately about enlightenment and advancement of said discussion, topic, or whatever. I'm not going to be going back and because I don't represent no sector or anything like that. Now, all y'all sector cats is welcome over here, but you know what I'm saying? It's going to be a more balanced perspective when you come over here to chop it up.
Oh yeah, I ain't with no sector either. But before I leave, hey, Big Riggs, I thought she was gonna come through and holler, but you know, I'm gonna catch you later.
Yeah, I thought bro was gonna come through.
Yeah, John, if you out there, I told you I owe you one, so hopefully you're gonna strike something up off of something like this, my guy, so I can come.
Yeah, John been MIA, so yeah, you hearing it? Hey, Big Rig, get this message out to John, Big Rig.
Okay. So, John, I told you I'm gonna always pull up. Like B-Eazy ain't expecting. He thought I was trolling. I had to know, y'all. It's me.
Bro, surprised the heck out of me. You did surprise me, bro. That's why I had to check. Like, bro, is that really, bruh? Thought you was a troll for a minute.
No, I would. Like I said, it's some folks on here I would troll, but I still would never do nothing disrespectful to their channel. But you, I had to, and I was like, oh, okay, this what he talking about? Okay, let me go over here and tap in so we can have
even
a good
Big Rig said he's surprised to see you.
Yeah, you know. But you know me, Big Rigs. I'm everywhere, B. I'm downtown, uptown, northtown. You know, I'm always around. But yeah. So this was definitely great, though. Again, it's a tragedy on both ends. But the last question is, we're gonna have to teach the youth better going forward. And I'm not even just necessarily speaking on this particular issue. We gonna have
just
to,
in general. Yeah, I'm gonna have a stream, and now I'm gonna hold you to that. You're gonna have to come to that stream because we do need to have once again, this transcends race. It's just about the youth in general because these are going to be the future leaders and the movers and shakers of society. So we do need to have them comport themselves in a more mature manner, in a more measured manner, so we don't have a lot of bloodshed on our hands. So we can have, hey, there's a way to disagree. There's a way to have heated and contentious moments, and people don't have to leave in a body bag. People don't have to leave bloody, bruised, and battered. If anything, it's just your ego that's bruised. But then you know what? You still got a pulse and you still here. You know what I mean? So impulse control is a huge thing that we have to discuss, and it's not going to be a race issue because as we can see, Austin was a white dude who was chimping out, and people could say Karmelo chimped out. Fine. It was 2 teenagers of different racial, ethnic backgrounds chimping out with low impulse control behavior. That's why you don't need to make it about race. We need to make it about masculinity. We need to make it about humanity, responsibility, and having self-discipline.
Yeah. Plus, I gotta be honest. Every time I see you, Cali dudes, I bruise y'all ego, but it is what it is. So
I knew bro had to. We was going so good. I was like, hold on, is this the real Malik? The nigga ain't took a shot at me yet. And then as he's leaving, bro takes a pardon shot. Hey, I respect it. I respect it.
Follow me. All right, champ. Until next time, yo. Y'all be easy, man.
All right, peace out, bro. Yeah, like I said, and that was Malik, bro, on the East Coast, Baltimore. We had a cool conversation. Everything was copacetic. And then at the end, bro took a pardon shot. Hey, that's fine, Malik. So just in case you don't know Malik, bro, just in case you don't know, hey, Malik.
Okay, see now you found yourself a nigga. You were looking for a nigga here now, see?
Today's forecast, dark and cloudy, and chance of drive-by.
this shit just got rigged.
What you gonna do, bitch?
I'm gonna tell you what. I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna do.
You ever heard of rolling 20s, nigga? Since I was 16, nigga.
Okay.
See, what he thought was he could come up in here and make the rules, but now he see that I run this bitch, and now he about to bounce.
So Malik had to bounce, but before he hit me with that pardon shot, hey, Malik.
What? Hope, please. Nigga, please. Hope.
Nigga, what?
Nigga.
Please. Nigga, please. What?
So that was Malik from Baltimore. And shout out to Kimberly. Kimberly said it's good hearing grown men have dialogue about real issues and situations. And that's why I respect you, Kimberly, because Kimberly is over here for the real. When you come over here, not only do you get the ism, but you get some insightful and intellectual discussions. You know what I mean? I can make all sorts of degenerate content. What about black on black crime? And talk about black women in bonnets twerking, talking about young YNs sagging their pants. You've heard enough of that content. You've been inundated with that content. How many people are going to really drop the link and debate their point and stand on business about their point? How many people are going to be open to be hearing contrarian views? A lot of people just want to hear, you know, who screwing who fought who doxed who exposed who. Meanwhile, you're in a race war. You're being intellectually slaughtered, financially slaughtered, physically slaughtered. And all you care about is what's the hottest Netflix show? When is a new season of Baddies gonna come out? How embarrassing and pathetic could you be? I don't want to hear you talk about what the community isn't doing, because you're not doing anything for the community. What about black on black crime? Okay, well, what are you doing about black on black crime? Making a podcast whining about black on black crime is not doing anything to stop it. If you had a basketball team and your team sucked, would you just get on and say, why does our team suck? What are we going to do about our sucky team? Would that help your team? If you had a sorry basketball team, making a podcast about how sorry they are is not going to change the conditions and the fortunes of that team. If you have a crime infested and a crime ridden neighborhood, making podcasts about said crime ridden neighborhood isn't going to do anything. But you can go mentor those youth. You can go coach those youth. You can go pick up trash. You can do a food drive. You can do a backpack drive. You can skill share. You can take some neighborhood kids on a field trip. You don't need a preacher to tell you this. You don't need a pastor. You don't need a politician. You don't need a divine intervention from the Most High to do any of this stuff. You can go do it right now. Many people like to floss and say how much money they got, how many chains they got. Okay, cool. You got a chain. Why didn't you sponsor a kid, right? Why don't you sponsor a couple kids on the football team and get them some cleats and all this other stuff? If them kids, they ain't my kids. Okay, cool. Once those kids, remember you said F them kids. So when those kids rob your hoe ass, then I don't care. Why should I care? You didn't care about this young kid who was grown up as an orphan, right? He was an orphan and he was a miseducated kid. You didn't want to educate him. That ain't my kid. F that kid. So that miseducated kid robbed your whole ass. He marked you out. And I'm supposed to care? What about black on black crime? You didn't care. So he didn't care when he robbed your whole ass. And he says the Malik accent always takes me out. Yeah, bro, really from B More. And Big Rick says, pop yo ish, man. I gotta pop it, bruh. And you said, cool off. Yeah, bro. Hey, let me calm down. I ain't gonna lie, bro. I was a little bit hot. My bad, y'all. I did turn up the temperature a little bit, but this is a heated discussion. You know what I mean? And Kimberly says, be a mentor for the young boys in the community. Yes, bro. If you don't want to mentor those kids, I don't care if those kids rob you. Now, we can go on and say, yeah, they shouldn't rob you. Yeah, they shouldn't rob you, but you also shouldn't be saying F them kids. You shouldn't be saying F them kids and they shouldn't rob you. So both things that shouldn't happen are happening, right? But if you mentor those kids, nobody would say, man, you shouldn't have mentored those kids. Nobody would say that. You say, I'm coaching these kids. Nobody will say you shouldn't have coached those kids. You shouldn't have sponsored those kids. But people will say you shouldn't have ignored those kids. You shouldn't have ignored your community. And just think about it from a certain standpoint, right? Many of these kids are just either free and or cheap labor waiting for you to, they're slim pickings for you. And I'm not saying that you should exploit those kids. You should empower and enrich those kids. Hey, you don't want to cut your lawn? You mean to tell me that there's no one in the neighborhood that you can recruit? Hey, man, don't you got a teenage son? You know what? I hate cutting my lawn. If your son won't mind, I'll pay him $30, $50, whatever you deem fair to cut your grass. You'll spend $30 at Starbucks and not think about it. What would go longer for enriching your community? $30 on Starbucks French Frappuccinos, or putting $30 in a teenage kid's pocket in your neighborhood? I mean, which one would have a better impact? Meanwhile, you're over here drinking Starbucks, looking at them kids saying, F them kids, I'm going to just drink my Starbucks. Okay, cool. Then he pistol whipped you and took your Frappuccino. It is what it is. Not push him to stand in the corner and push the white man demonic spirit. Yeah. And this is the other thing too. Like, where are the educated class, the buck broken, brain dead boule class who love to talk about their degrees, but then they say, look, I got a degree from a historically black college that's run by white people, and my whole thing is to get career advancement where I get pats on the head from white mommy and daddy. You think that these YNs is supposed to look up to that? You'll have somebody like, hey, I graduated from Morehouse. Yeah, but nigga, you're broke. So meanwhile, it's a nigga on the block who can't read past a 5th grade level, but he's balling out of control and he got all the baddies. And then you got some dweeb from Morehouse wagging his finger, talking about black on black crime, and he got a white wife, but you're broke. What do you think these YNs is going to gravitate to? Some dweeb from Morehouse who got a white wife and is broke, or some low educated thug with hella money and a bunch of fine chicks? I'm just saying, which thing sounds more favorable to these young kids? This is why it has to be a balance. This is why you have to have outlets and institutions for these kids to turn to. Where could the nerds turn to? It's a bunch of sophisticated nerds in the hood. But where could they turn to? Then when you got a nerd in the hood and turns to and becomes a product of the environment of the hood, then you try to say, no, that's just their culture. No, they're a product of their environment. This is why people don't want their kids going to certain schools. They love to talk about their culture, where if their culture is so superior, they should be able to go to these other schools and usurp whatever urban culture is at the schools. But that's not what happens. They say, hey, I don't want my kids to be influenced by that, so I'm going to send them to a completely different environment. So it's almost like chaining a junkyard dog up and then not expecting the dog's behavior to be influenced by the conditions of abuse and malnourishment. You're looking at this junkyard dog and expecting it to act like Lassie or Air Bud or Beethoven. How the hell is your dog going to be Lassie? Lassie wasn't chained up. Lassie wasn't beaten and malnourished. So why would your junkyard dog act like Lassie? And that's what they do. They'll send these kids to schools with dilapidated buildings, mold, asbestos, poorly funded schools, teachers that don't give a flip, and then expect them to compete with some rich Catholic school. Hey, this rich Catholic school could do it. Why can't this poor public school be the same way? Come on, man. But I appreciate y'all for rocking out. I'm going to go ahead and pull up a video. You already heard Malik. Me and Malik covered a bunch of the stuff, but I'm going to let a sister give her perspective on some of this stuff. And then depending on how y'all rocking, I'll probably hear from the Professor Black Truth. But let's get into it.
She was the only witness called by the defense at that June 1st, 2026 in McKinney, Texas, in Collin County. It lasted 8 days, y'all. 8. Okay. The prosecution brought in a video analyst named Mark Porter from the Tarrant County DA's office as their first witness. He walked the jury through enhanced surveillance footage of the stabbing, frame by frame. The jury sat there and watched it all. They saw the exact moment that the stabbing occurred. During the punishment phase of the trial, which started almost immediately after the guilty verdict came in, Karmelo's mother took the stand. She was the only witness called by the defense at that stage. She asked the jury for mercy for her son. Karmelo was seen crying while she...
So this is another thing with the defense, and I will be switching back and forth like this, right? So the prosecution, they called over 21 witnesses, all of them Hunter's teammates and family members who were on Hunter's side. Meanwhile, Karmelo's defense called, I think, like 3 people. Now, he did cross-examine the prosecution's witnesses, and he did debunk many of their lies, but he wasn't very forceful with it. And he tried to frame it as, hey, he didn't want to be aggressive because if he came off as aggressive, he might basically lose or bungle the case. No, bruh, you bungled the case by not being aggressive. The prosecution was very aggressive on trying to paint Karmelo as this thuggish murderer. And then meanwhile, you got this meek counsel who's like, yeah, well, I don't want to come off as too rude or too mean. Like, bro, we're talking about a capital charge here where you can potentially put a young man's life away for his entire life. And you're just like, don't want to be too aggressive. Meanwhile, the prosecution is like cutthroat. And on top of that, when he called up, he only called up one witness to speak on behalf of Karmelo, and that was his mom. He didn't call up Karmelo's dad. He didn't call up any of Karmelo's friends, which all of his friends or his so-called friends abandoned him and stabbed him in the back. He didn't call up any of his cousins, any of his teachers. Did y'all know that Karmelo Anthony had allegedly saved someone's life? He saved someone from drowning. Why didn't the defense bring this up to speak to his character? Does anyone think that someone who would risk their life to save a drowning person? How many people do you know that would do that? How many people do you know that could swim strong enough to save someone from drowning? Karmelo Anthony did. He saved someone from drowning, yet his own defense team didn't bring this up to support his character. We can try to pretend, oh, that has nothing to do with this case. Actually, it does. They were talking about Hunter's or Austin's character. He was a captain on the football team. People loved him and all this other stuff. You mean to tell me no one loved Karmelo? People loved Karmelo too. Clearly the Eddie dude thought he was cool. That's why he called him over. Karmelo was cool enough to call over and say, hey, bro, you can come sit under the tent. But now we're supposed to believe that he was just this monstrous thug that everyone hated? Huh? Come on, man. This is just a travesty.
She testified, and the judge instructed the jury to determine whether something called sudden passion played a role in what Karmelo did. Now, under Texas law, that matters because it affects the sentencing. The jury had the option to convict on the lesser charge of manslaughter, and they simply chose not to and went ahead with the conviction of murder. After about 2 hours and 20 minutes of deliberation, they sentenced Karmelo Anthony to 35 years in prison, y'all. He's eligible for parole after serving half of that sentence.
So they were predicting that this case was going to go into the end of June. Now, mind you, they convicted him. They pretended as if this was just clear cut and dry. It took them less than 2 hours to say, yep, bro is a murderer. Nothing to see here. You know what I mean? Just simply playing with this kid's life. And it's all because, okay, I get it. It's sad. Austin should still be here, but he would have been here if he didn't provoke it. They're framing Karmelo as provoking this incident because he said, touch me and see what happens. And then even y'all heard Malik, making a case for premeditation, right? Or at least him being in the mind state of premeditating this specific atrocity, right? Okay, let's just say that he was, right? What did Austin premeditate? Did Austin premeditate his assault? Because it wasn't just an assault, it wasn't a threat and assault. I'll beat your bitch ass, and then he actually tried. You don't have an obligation to just let some bigger person beat the crap out of you.
He faced anywhere from 5 years to life, and they gave him 35. After the sentence came down, Austin Metcalf's family gave victim impact statements directly to Karmelo, which is crazy because I wouldn't want you talking to my child. But anyway, his mother, Megan, said, "We will never know what our future could have been for journalists."
And then they're over here talking about the victim impact statement. So then this is a form of buck breaking as well. So they say, hey, look, there's a bunch of victims and this is the impact that your crime has faced. So they do this buck breaking ritual where they try to say, hey, look at all the people you hurt, and the person is supposed to show grave remorse. But what is the point of him showing the remorse when they don't believe him anyways? Karmelo's mom asked for mercy, and then the prosecution said mercy to the guilty is cruelty to the innocent. Right. So they're basically saying mercy, like, nah, bruh, we're not going to give you mercy. So these are all the people that talk about turn the other cheek and forgiveness. Only God could judge me. No. Was Karmelo judged by God? Only God could judge. No, clearly that's not true. That's a crock of you know what. But then again, you're supposed to be Bible thumping. We're going to pray for the Karmelo Anthony family. Okay, pray that what happens? You think Karmelo Anthony's family wasn't praying before the jury read this out? You think that the Karmelo Anthony prayed to have an all non-black jury? You think Karmelo Anthony's family prayed to have the slanted mainstream media coverage? They were convicting him in the court of public opinion when people know that this was clearly self-defense. It's just he didn't have the complexion for the protection of the collection. That's all this is. And people want to pretend like, oh, yeah, well, he shouldn't have done this. He shouldn't have done that. OK, fine. We've already conceded that point about what he shouldn't have done. The teacher shouldn't have left him unattended. And Austin shouldn't have been a bully. There's a lot of shouldn't haves, right? Austin Metcalf's dad shouldn't have been a degenerate, but he still is.
Activist, and this is a story, but for our family, this is our reality. His father, Jeff, slammed his fist on the table and said, people think grief is sadness, but it's not. It's rage. It's pure, unfiltered rage. And Austin's twin brother, Hunter, also spoke. I don't care where you stand on the rest of this case, okay? That family lost a child. Those words deserve to be heard without commentary from me, okay? Now, I told you that I was going to be direct about this. So here we go. Race was not officially part of this trial, but it was absolutely present in every single room surrounding it. Okay, let's start with the jury. Out of a pool of 600 residents.
So she said race wasn't officially part of this trial. Race is always officially part of any trial. And this is what they always try to do. They just don't explicitly say and make it about race rhetorically. But this is how you practice common law. It's like when people say, hey, there's no businesses that says no niggas allowed, but there's still sundown towns, because there's not a town that says, hey, no black person could come through here. It's still a sundown town. So yes, all of these cases are about race. And this is the kind of goofiness that some of our people got to get over. Because, and this is what people do with the Democrats, the Republicans is bad, right? Because the Republicans are very explicit, blatant, and overt with their anti-blackness, and the Democrats are more covert. So the Republicans are the type to call you a nigga to your face, and the Democrats go eat lunch with them, and they say, hey, I never called you an N-word. Yeah, you just hang out with people that call me the N-word. Or the Democrats call you an N-word behind your back. Hey, we love you blacks. You niggers. I mean, you blacks are the backbone of the party. That's what the Democrats are. Two cheeks on the same booty. So this whole downplaying of race, a lot of times people do that to kind of kowtow because they don't want to seen as y'all have a victim mentality. All y'all do is make it about race. Well, go on X, Reddit, or any Facebook, any of these things. All it is people making it about race. The whole term, what about black on black crime? That's made about race. Crime has no color. How many times have you heard What about Latino on Latino crime? What about brown on brown crime, yellow on yellow crime, white on white crime? Crime has no color and most crime is intraracial. So shouldn't we have a bunch of these terms? What about Jewish on Jewish crime? What about Native American on Native American crime? Like, we don't have any of these terms. But people are fixated on what about black on black crime. We're supposed to hold our community accountable. And no, you have to do it publicly. So we have to get on a podcast and shame the entire community, generalize the entire community. Meanwhile, other communities are saying, hey, we're not a monolith and don't generalize us. And then when we say, hey, we're not a monolith, so don't generalize us. No, all you niggas are the same. So if a Jamaican immigrant commits a crime, that's black culture. A Haitian immigrant commits a crime, that's black culture. Somebody who's newly arrived from Senegal and Burkina Faso commits a crime, that's black culture. If there's an illicit Chinese massage parlor, and I say that's Asian culture, that's racist and xenophobic. Hey, you can't generalize all Asians for a Chinese massage parlor, huh? That's what y'all do all the time. But, you know, you're just supposed to overlook that stuff.
0 black jurors were selected. 0. The trial proceeded with an all-white jury. Now, legally, the defense had the opportunity to challenge the jury composition.
And just to be clear, technically, it wasn't an all-white jury. It was an all non-black jury. And there is a case to be made if it was an all-white jury, because they'll say, hey, look at this person. There was an Asiatic person, a Middle Eastern person, a Hispanic person, but there's no race called Middle Eastern and there's no race called Hispanic or Latino. There's a bunch of white Latinos and white Hispanics. I always like to bring up the example of Cameron Diaz, or if you're into politics and you know who David Pacman. Both of these people are Latino and both of them are white. So it's ultimately up to how they want to identify. If one day they want to identify as Latino, then that's what they'll be. If another day they want to say they're white, then that's what they'll be. So they'll stack the deck with a bunch of Middle Eastern people who are brown but classified as white. And then they'll say, hey, well, they're not really white. Why are they classified as that? So are you telling me that these metrics are inaccurate? These metrics are a lie? So I just have to go with how they're legally classified. So people who are legally classified as white don't want to be called white. Well, why are you checking that box? No one is forcing them to identify that way. So then when you accurately call them and categorize them based on their self-identity, then they just start acting confused. So yeah, it was an all non-black jury, and the defense could have challenged that, right? He could have been more aggressive in terms of, you know, saying that, hey, look, man, this isn't fair. You know what I mean? This isn't like a fair jury. Wonder why he did it. You know what I mean? And we're supposed to believe that this, you know, he got paid a substantial amount for this. Was this the best the high IQs have to offer in terms of defense?
Of 600 residents, 0 black jurors were selected. 0. The trial proceeded with an all-white jury. Now, legally, the defense had the opportunity to challenge the jury composition, and they simply didn't block the trial from moving forward. But that does not mean that black people and black communities were wrong to look at that jury and feel some kind of way. One woman outside the courthouse after the verdict came down said that not one black soul on a jury at all, and a white jury convicted him in 2 to 3 hours. That is a direct quote from someone at the scene. And whether you agree with her conclusion or not, her feeling is not irrational given the history of this country. The Next Generation Action Network, which is the largest human and civil rights organization in North Texas, and which served as a spokesperson for the Anthony family throughout this entire case, expressed extreme disappointment with the verdict and called for an appeal, citing concerns about the fairness of the trial. The Collin County NAACP also responded. And then there's Collin County itself. SMU professor Rick Halpern, scholar Michael Phillips, and Hadi Jawad, who is the co-founder of Human Rights Dallas, published a piece specifically about Collin County's documented history of racism and extremism. They drew a direct line between that history and the environment in which this trial took place. Now, that is not a social media hot take or a think piece. Those are academics and civil rights leaders naming something very, very real. Okay, outside of the courthouse, it was complete chaos. Law enforcement was called to break up confrontations on both sides. Now, here's my honest take, and I want to be clear that this is simply just my perspective, okay? This case was never just about two teenagers in a tent at a track meet. It's never that simple. It became a stand-in for every unresolved conversation this country refuses to have about race, about who gets to be seen as a threat, about who gets the benefit of the doubt, about which boy gets mourned and which one gets demonized. A research expert quoted in News Nation said,
"What if you could make a song using only your voice? Let's start with the drums."
Interracial cases of violence have historically been used as proxies for broader symbolic and systemic issues of injustice. And they noted that public perception of violence literally shifts based on the race of the victim and the offender. That's not an opinion, y'all. This is documented research. Okay? I mean that Karmelo should have walked away scot-free? Absolutely not, because all of our actions do have consequences. What I am saying is that we cannot pretend that the racial dynamics of this case did not shape how it was covered, how it was discussed, and possibly how it was judged. You can believe Austin Metcalf deserved justice and still ask some hard questions about whether the system delivered it fairly. Those two things are not mutually exclusive, okay? I started this video by saying that a 17-year-old boy is dead and a 19-year-old boy just got 35 years in prison. And I want to end it the exact same way. Because no matter where you fall on this, both of those facts are true at the same time, and both of them are equally devastating. Austin Metcalf went to a track meet and just never came home. Karmelo Anthony, who was 17 years old at the time, on the day that this happened, he's going to spend at least the next 17 years in prison. He'll be nearly 40 when he first becomes eligible for parole. Two families destroyed, two communities divided, and a country that still has not figured out how to have an honest conversation about race and justice without it becoming a full-blown war. I don't have a clean bow to put on this. I don't think that one exists. What I do think is that we owe it to both of these boys and to ourselves to stay in the discomfort instead of retreating into whatever feels safest at the moment. If this video made you think,
okay, so that particular video was from the creator. Hold on, let me get the name. That was from Geraldine Lake. So if y'all want to watch that full video, I played most of it, but y'all can watch that video on her channel. Now, I think I covered most of it, but I'm going to listen to some of what the professor had to say. Because I think I've, kind of thoroughly flushed out my position on it. So I'm going to listen to what the Honorable Professor Black Truth has to say about this. And then I'm going to get ready to shut her down. If we have anyone in the chat that wants to come up and state your piece, then I dropped the link, but I can drop the link again if anyone would like to come up and give their perspective. Otherwise, I'm going to play some of this video, give a reaction, and then shut her down. So this is from the Honorable Professor Black Truth. And this one is titled "The Real Reason Karmelo Was Convicted."
I'm the professor, and this is the moment of truth. Predictably, the all-white jury that rubber-stamped the Karmelo Anthony case came back with a guilty verdict. You can be disgusted with the outcome, but nobody can be surprised. They were making it crystal clear from the very beginning exactly how this was going to work out, starting with the bogus charges against that kid. This was going to be a courtroom lynching. It was going to be white power reassuring itself that it was still in charge. This was never about the law, and they didn't even make a pretense that it was about the law. It was always about reinforcing the white supremacist legal doctrine that black people have no right of self-defense. Mike Brown was demonized by the white media because of his height. That alone made him the bad guy, even though he was the one who was murdered. Well, Austin Metcalf was also much taller than the boy he threatened and attacked, but the white media never made that an issue. You know, there's a lot of things that I see when I look at this Metcalf fellow, but the one thing nobody sees is a victim. He had behavioral problems before now. He threatened and assaulted a total stranger for no reason whatsoever. Had he been civilized, nothing would have happened. Karmelo Anthony has no criminal record, never in trouble with the law. Can the gun-wielding thug Metcalf say the same? This entire perverted fiasco was dirty from the jump. From the DA who decided to bring these bogus charges and then who illegally excluded only the black jurors, to the judge who allowed it, to the defense counsel who was clearly not giving it the old college try. The fix was in from the beginning, and we called this. But without a legal framework that aggressively can be brought to bear when they do things like this, call it out as far as we can currently get. This is why I rail on about these black misleaders so much. They've been in office since the beginning of time, and yet how many laws are there on the books to punish prosecutors for practices like this? The white right passed laws that enable bigots like Ron DeSantis to arbitrarily remove a DA if he thinks that they're not going after enough black people. So where's the process at anywhere in America that will punish clerks of court who constantly assemble jury pools that conveniently always seem to exclude black jurors in general and black male jurors in specific? And beyond that, laws to punish prosecutors for using their peremptory challenges to consistently exclude only black jurors. We see this in both red and blue states, but we don't see any measures to punish it in any state. I would love to say that this was a miscarriage of justice, but under white supremacy, there is no justice. That's what black empowerment has been fighting for. Now, there's been people saying that the father of the thug Metcalf who attacked Karmelo Anthony was also friends with the DA or the judge on the case. Now, I don't know about that. It certainly wouldn't surprise me if it turned out to be true. But one thing is for certain. Karmelo's defense attorney, Toby Shook, had been a co-worker for the very prosecutor who he was supposed to be arguing against in court. In fact, Toby Shook and this Worski character were thick as thieves in the DA's office. 10 years ago, they both posed smiling like Cheshire cats with the so-called Home Run Hitters Award. This so-called award is from the National District Attorneys Association. These two were literally partners in crime for many years. If nothing else, one of them should have been recused from the case altogether. But this is who the Anthony family saw fit to prevent Karmelo from being sent to prison. This is who they chose to defend Karmelo. This guy only put up token objections to his friend the DA's racially purging the jury of black people. But it was only pro forma. He only did that as a CYA maneuver, but he didn't go any further than that. Remember, every time you talk about this so-called defense attorney Toby Shook, you need to include that he's a former colleague, but a current friend of the prosecutor in this case. As I said, he wasn't given this when the old college trial.
And then if we want to talk about accountability, the Karmelo Anthony family has to take accountability for feckless and incompetent lawyers. Remember, they're paying for this stuff, right? Now, I get it where people could try to pull rank. Hey, I'm a lawyer. I passed the bar. I've won X case and this and this and that. There'll be these accolades that you can say, hey, look, this person was voted best lawyer in Texas or something like that, right? But again, there were so many red flags about how incompetent that this particular defense lawyer was. So I think that the Anthony family does need to have some level of scrutiny. They don't need to be demonized and castigated. But I mean, this was a capital charge, right? To send your baby boy away. And then they chose this pathetic legal representation that they have to pay hundreds of thousands for. If you're going to pay hundreds of thousands, it's like you want to get the most bang for your buck. Is that what they got from this lawyer? We know the answer.
In fact, he wasn't trying at all. And there's the usual trash who didn't like me referring to the jury as an all-white jury. Why not? It's true. There's been the predictable whining that there were some Hispanics on the jury and there was an Asian too. These are the same people who were outraged when George Zimmerman was rightly identified as a white Latino. We've already covered countless times how many in the Hispanic community identify themselves as white on their driver's licenses, job applications, census forms, etc. You had that Latino neo-Nazi in the state of Texas who decided to go on a shooting rampage. He killed a number of Hispanic people, among others.
Frank says, why did the defense ever get a toxicology report? There's a lot of things the defense didn't do. Why didn't the defense call Hunter Metcalf? And then they try to say, oh, well, you know, we didn't want to come off as being aggressive and this is a sensitive case and all this other type of stuff. All you hear is excuses, bro. So you mean that you didn't want to be aggressive in defending to get your client off for murder? So he was caring more about the public perception and how everyone else felt, more so than defending his client to the best of his abilities. And then he wants to sell and convince you that, yeah, the legal defense that Karmelo got, that was the best of his ability. And remember, his family is paying hundreds of thousands for that legal representation. And many people, I know a lot of people are like these little keyboard lawyers. There's a lot of keyboard lawyers that have made better arguments than actual legal representation. So this was a travesty in railroad. So let's play some more of this.
Many in the Hispanic community identify themselves as white on their driver's licenses, job applications, census forms, etc. You had that Latino neo-Nazi in the state of Texas who decided to go on a shooting rampage. He killed a number of Hispanic people, among others, and he himself boasted that he was white. And as for Asians, there's the exact same pattern. People from the Middle East identify as white regularly. There's been Asians like the mass murderer Elliot Rodger, whose mother was Malaysian. But that didn't stop him from identifying as white, saying that he was, get this, descended from British aristocracy. And he would regularly refer to himself as the image of beauty and supremacy. While he wasn't white necessarily, he definitely knew the rules of white supremacy and wanted to get as close to it as possible. And he wasn't alone. This is yet another example of the fact that the most virulent and hateful anti-black racists are not even people who are descended from Western Europeans. You have a lot of these Latinos and Middle Easterners and Asians who also identify as white. White power hand-selected that group of jurors and didn't do it by accident. White power chose the jury's composition. White power definitely vetted them to make sure their minds were made up before the trial even started. Black empowerment is more than just melanin. It's also an oppositional ideology to white supremacy. There's a reason why the phrase white adjacent exists, because it speaks to the reality of how certain groups who are not classified as white nonetheless have collaborated with white supremacy and consider themselves to be auxiliaries of it. Everything from Latinos who insist on identifying as white on all documentation to the model minorities. That's just a fact. So yes, Karmelo Anthony was tried by an all-white jury. I'm not splitting hairs on that one. If you don't consider that to be white supremacist, then you might as well be tried by a jury made up of David Duke, Ben Shapiro, and the ghost of Charlie Kirk. Now, for the slow coasts who are still in denial, if they want to insist that the non-Western Europeans on that jury weren't white supremacist in their minds, then what happened to the Black-Brown Alliance on this one? Why did the prosecutor feel so confident that if he let people of color on the jury with no blacks, then they would go right along with what white power wanted? Because he definitely wasn't trying to exclude anyone else from that jury. And you better believe, had this been a black prosecutor and he excluded all of the white people, every good old boy.
Again, this is why I want black people to retire using the term POC, people of color, BIPOC, any of that stuff. Because when they talk about black on black crime, they don't talk about POC on POC crime, BIPOC on BIPOC crime. They say black crime and black only. So if it's us only, then why are we pretending we're in this mythical coalition? They don't talk about black and brown on black and brown crime or black and yellow or anything. The only time they say black and is when they can use the black pain and then attach it to someone else. Here, look at what the blacks went through. Black pain, black this, black lynchings, black enslavement, black mass incarceration. And what are we going to do to help the black people? Help undocumented immigrants, help trans people, help the Asian community, help everyone but the black community that we said that we were trying to help, right? So they intentionally exclude all of the quote unquote black jurors, but they put a bunch of so-called POCs on there so they can say, hey, not everybody was white. Well, there's a bunch of people who are white adjacent and who want proximity to white mommy and daddy so they can, drink their bath water and get peed and pooped on to assimilate and be accepted. Here, do whatever you want to do to me so they can be accepted. And then after they do all this stuff to throw black people under the bus, they're still not accepted. They're still seen as pajeets and street shitters. And like Trump said, you come from shithole countries and all this other stuff. But as long as they believe that they're above the blacks, above the niggas, they don't care. Fine. That's okay that they don't care. Just stop pretending that you do. Stop using terms like POC. Stop talking about minorities and underserved groups and pretending we're united based on some sort of trials and tribulations. You always tell us we need to stop begging. We need to stop acting like victims. But then when it's time to quote unquote act like a victim, here, look at what you guys been through. You guys were victimized. So use the trauma and the pain from your past victimizations to help stop mass deportations. Nah, y'all said we complain too much, but then you want us to complain about mass deportations, right? Stop complaining. Okay, fine. We're not going to complain when they mass deport people. Stop complaining. We're not going to complain when they ban certain things about gender affirming care, right? Y'all told us to stop complaining, but then they turn around and say, no, we want you guys to complain, but don't complain about an anti-black hate crime bill. Don't complain about reparations. Complain about helping trans people. Complain about LGBT issues. Complain about undocumented immigrants. Complain about every single pet issue except for fighting for your own community. Fighting for your own community is divisive. Fighting for every other community is considered smart. But on the flip side, these other communities, they don't fight for every other community. They fight for very specific ethnic groups, very specific solitary issues. They fight for singular issues for their community, but we're supposed to fight for universal policies that help everyone. And we do. We are the ones who support universal policies. Civil rights means universal policy, but all these other groups, they fight for stop Asian hate, not stop people of color hate, not stop minority hate, stop Asian hate and Asian hate only. You know what I mean? So we have no friends, we have no allies. So unfortunately, when you hear these people talk about POCs are oftentimes worse than any of the white Anglo supremacists. And Roger, I didn't even know you were still here. You said, I have a ballot initiative idea for the poor and working class defendants with the creation of a taxpayer-based fund created that would allow defendants to contract with the law firm of their choosing. Where we get our dream team, it would strictly be for those who are of limited financial means, no public defender, but the same kind of defense on the level of keeping white collar criminals. And think about this too. Karmelo Anthony was a straight A student who saved someone from drowning, but then he's painted as just a sub-Saharan savage thug who's just a product of black culture. Now, you have undocumented citizens, people who came here illegally, and California says, you know what? We're going to give a $50 million legal fund, but it's only for undocumented immigrants, right? If you're not an immigrant, figure out your own counsel. But ICE is like the Gestapo. No, ICE is not like the Gestapo. And if they are, the Gestapo was trained by people here. They were influenced by people here. So who is really bad? The Gestapo or the people who influenced the Gestapo, right? So if you're an immigrant in California, they have tens of millions of legal counsel for you. But if you're just a young brother, you know what I mean? And, you know, the system is going to railroad you up. Shut up, figure it out, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. But that's not the standard for everyone else. No one is telling immigrants to pull themselves up by your bootstraps. Instead, they're saying this is a nation of immigrants built by immigrants. So we have to have $50 million in free legal counsel. They never say this is a nation of immigrants built by immigrants. So that's why we need to have a citizen ballot initiative to make sure that American citizens get adequate counsel. They don't even talk about citizens. All they talk about is immigrants becoming citizens, non-citizens becoming citizens. They don't talk about the citizens who are native here, the citizens who are not immigrants. Instead of trying to help them, they're too busy trying to convince the native population that, well, we're all immigrants. No, it's not. Do words matter or don't they? To try to lie and say that we're all immigrants is just a form of ethnic and cultural erasure. And the person who should be very vehement against this is people who call themselves so-called native, so-called indigenous. And then sometimes they'll try to give a caveat and say, everybody's a Native American. I mean, everyone's an immigrant except for Native Americans. But what Native Americans are you talking about? There's a bunch of white Native Americans who are indigenous to Europe, but now they're called Native Americans. So then you're trying to say that, oh, this group is an immigrant because you're not of this specific lineage, but they married into this lineage. They were kind of papered into a specific lineage. And then you're supposed to pretend that everybody except for these lily white people calling themselves native is an immigrant. It just doesn't even make any sense, bro.
Boy, redneck and racist in Texas, starting with Greg Abbott, would have been screaming and yelling from the rafters saying that there needs to be an investigation, and you'd have them convening the state legislature and writing up laws to punish whoever Brown alliance on this one. Why did the prosecutor feel minorities? That's just a fact. So yes, Karmelo Anthony was tried by an all-white jury. I'm not splitting hairs on that one. If you don't consider that to be white supremacist, then you might as well be tried by a jury made up of David Duke, Ben Shapiro, and the ghost of Charlie Kirk. Now, for the slow coasts who are still in denial, if they want to insist that the non-Western Europeans on that jury weren't white supremacists in their minds, then what happened to the Black-Brown alliance on this one? Why did the prosecutor feel so confident that if he let people of color on the jury with no blacks, then they would go right along with what white power wanted? Because he definitely wasn't trying to exclude anyone else from that jury. And you better believe, had this been a black prosecutor and he excluded all of the white people, every good old boy, redneck, and racist in Texas, starting with Greg Abbott, would have been screaming and yelling from the rafters saying that there needs to be an investigation, and you'd have them convening the state legislature and writing up laws to punish whoever that black DA was. They don't let black people exercise power over white people. If there's a black person who does something that the white society doesn't like, they make sure to do something about them. You do not see prosecutors ever trying to exclude white people from a jury, ever. And that consistent practice is the purest evidence that what happened to Karmelo Anthony is part of the ingrained, embedded anti-black racism that is the American injustice system. You can be morally outraged about the verdict, and that's fine. But the problem here runs deeper than just a corrupt prosecutor, a crooked judge, and a rabidly anti-black jury. The problem is that that young man was charged in the first place. The second problem is that the jury pool was constituted so as to have only a few black people from the very beginning. They wanted to make sure that the public saw this so they could show, see, we can make certain that there's absolutely no black people on this jury. It will be blatantly illegal, but we're white and we say so. This trial took place in Collins County, which has a black population of about 12%. The Asian population there is 21%. The Hispanic population, however, is only 16%, not much larger than the black population. And yet there were 3 Hispanics on the jury and not one black person. And we're not supposed to be looking at the clerk of court and seeing that he rigged that jury composition from the jump, because you would never see a white defendant who just so happened to be tried by 4 or 5 black people and not a white person on the jury. You would think that if their system is truly randomized, then just as a matter of statistical error, you would get some outcomes like that. Instead, the juries are always consistently majority white, no matter what. This is because the clerks of court are the ones who select who gets chosen to be part of the jury pool. Most of you don't know how juries are selected for trials. This is how it works. The clerk of court claims that they pull a list of names from the voter rolls and the driver's license lists. and that the people who make it into the jury pool are randomly selected. They claim that there's a computer involved, but you know what? That's not necessarily true. You'll remember I told you about the book When Corruption Was King by Robert Cooley. He was a mob lawyer in Chicago.
And even if a computer was involved during the selection, they'll use an AI or some sort of algorithm that they already programmed an anti-black bias in. So even when they try to act like, hey, look, there was nothing improper, it was a random selection. Yeah, a random selection based on all of the rigged parameters that you already entered.
Chicago in the 1970s. He wrote in his book that even back then, The Chicago Court's King by Robert Cooley, he was a mob lawyer in Chicago in the voter rolls and the driver's license lists, and that the people who make it into the jury pool are randomly selected. They claim that there's a computer involved, but you know what? That's not necessarily true. You'll remember I told you about the book When Corruption Was King by Robert Cooley. He was a mob lawyer in Chicago in the 1970s. He wrote in his book that even back then, the Chicago courts claimed that they too chose the jurors for trial and the judges who would preside over the cases at random, and that their system was also computerized. This was back in the 1970s. But as Robert Cooley explained, for the mob and the men who run the Chicago political machine, that didn't matter. They still had ways to make sure that the right cases landed with the right judges no matter what. But this doesn't just happen in Chicago. You had the recent case with Ken Paxton. This guy got put on trial by his own Republican colleagues because of how corrupt he is. You think the corruption only stops with him? At the end of the day, you can have all the computers you want selecting the jurors, but who's watching the clerk of court to make sure that they're not ethnically cleansing the jury pool? Texas is legendary for its corruption, and the Karmelo Anthony trial is just another example of that. They clearly vet and curate who they want in the jury pool and who they don't. A lot of you, especially black men, have never been called to jury duty. You think that's a coincidence? And these clerks of court deliberately and consistently pull from the non-black areas of town. You better believe that no matter.
Yeah, you thought that was coincidence that you haven't been selected for jury duty. And then sometimes you get selected for jury duty and you're like, man, F that jury duty, I ain't going. But there's many times and then sometimes they have you do jury duty and if they send it, you preside over, let's just say, a meaningless or inconsequential case. But they know which areas where black people predominate. And when it's these capital charges, they go out of their way to ensure that there's no black people on the jury. And then they pretend as, oopsie, this was just happenstance. Now I'm gonna play a little bit more of the video because I think, I've covered most of it in the exchange going back and forth with somebody who perceived to give a contrarian view. So I'll play a little bit more of this and I'll get ready to shut her down. Unless any of you guys want to come up, if there's any people that think that, Karmelo should have got off, or people that believe that, yes, he is a thuggish murderer. So I'm going to drop the link one more time. I'm going to play a little bit more of the video. And if nobody comes up, I'm going to shut it down because I've already been here almost 3 hours. And I don't want to make this just about content. Many people are only covering this issue because, hey, it's a hot topic and let me get the clicks for content. This isn't about content right now. This isn't a monetized stream. I'm shadow banned. However, if y'all do want to support your boy, for this good game that I'm giving, y'all could, hit me on the Cash App. I do have PayPal, Zelle, and all this other stuff. But, I know Cash App is cool. Even when I had my YouTube super chat up, just always remember that YouTube is taking 30% off the top. So if you send me $100 super chat, I'm only really getting like 70, 68-ish dollars. But if you hit the Cash App and you want to send 100, I get 100. You know what I mean? But like I said, if you're unable or unwilling to support financially, then you can always support, like, sharing, commenting. It won't cost you a fee. That support is free. tell a friend to tell a friend. Let me play a little bit more and we will be out of here.
How they claim to have selected the people at random, at the end of the day, they have all kinds of means to sit there and go, nah, this person comes from the wrong area. You think that they don't have the actual addresses for where these people come from, or they look and see names that they don't like, etc. Now, the clerk of court for Collins County is a guy named Michael Gould. So you have a white prosecutor, a white judge, a white clerk of court, and a white defense attorney who's a longtime friend, colleague, and partner in crime with the prosecutor. And we're not supposed to look at this and say, man, this was just a kangaroo court from top to bottom. I'm not saying that having a different defense attorney alone would have guaranteed an acquittal, but I can say that having this clown as the defense attorney guaranteed that Karmelo Anthony would be convicted no matter what. He certainly didn't have adequate legal counsel. And this clerk of court, he made sure that the fix was in from the jump. I don't live in Collins County, but I can do basic math, and there should have been at least 2 black people on that jury. Instead, the jury pool was bleached, and the judge allowed a blatantly illegal move by the prosecutor to challenge and strike from the jury pool all potential black jurors. This is not a justice system. It's a white privilege engine that manufactures guaranteed outcomes, and the outcome is incarcerate black defendants and ignore and even permit white offenders to commit crimes with no penalties. And these creeps aren't officers of the court. They're co-conspirators and collaborators in the criminal enterprise of using their positions to railroad people into prison, guilty or innocent. They might as well call themselves the Railroad Committee, because that's what they really are. A crooked clerk of court who intentionally curated the jury pool so that only a handful of black people would get through that particular filter. Then he hands it off to his colleague and buddy, the prosecutor, who selectively challenges only the few black potential jurors who remain to be struck from the jury pool, and a judge who sees this blatant illegality happening in his courtroom and signs off on it anyway. And a defense attorney who shrugs it off, among other intentional failures during this kangaroo court. What happened to Karmelo Anthony reminds me of what happened to Bill Cosby. In that court case, you also had a prosecutor who really knew that they didn't have a leg to stand on, but they did know that they were white and that they were the ones who were in charge of the process so they could manufacture the outcome that they wanted. Sure, it probably wouldn't stand up on appeal, and in the case of Cosby, it failed immediately. But as far as they're concerned, this is about showing who's in charge. This is what these white supremacists have to do to engineer a win for themselves. This problem will not be addressed until there's measures put in place at the front of the process. These crooked clerks of court like this Mike Gould character, they have to be stopped before they front load these juries with a bunch of anti-black racists. All of this ethnic cleansing of black people from juries, that must be criminalized, and there must be a robust and strictly enforced mechanism in place to actually stop these creeps before they pull these stunts. Obviously, leaving that up to the judges to decide produces these outcomes. Sure, that's what they want, but our job is to make sure white supremacy doesn't get what it wants. When these black defendants can see that the prosecutors are clearly ethnically cleansing the jury pool to remove any black people from it, they're supposed to be able to immediately bring the courtroom proceedings to a halt. It's not supposed to be a case of you got some pathetic punk defense attorney who's buddies with the prosecutor and he pretends like, oh, I offered some objections. See, that way you guys can't bring me before the bar committee for not doing my job. With that.
So it's only like a few minutes left of this video. I'm gonna play the rest of this video and then I'm gonna shut her down. I dropped the link. It looks like nobody else wants to come, so shout out to Malik for at least coming and stating his case. And you know, this was a kangaroo court. It was rigged from the jump. This was very pathetic and feckless representation that Karmelo Anthony had, and I don't want to victim blame. I don't want to castigate. However, I must scrutinize why the family chose this legal counsel, thought that he would be inadequate. Even now, I mean, I will be on an interview tour. I mean, pay them because now the services are rendered. But do you really think that they got what they paid for? Mind you, this was a capital case. So they paid this dude hundreds of thousands of dollars, you know, to just put up a pathetic case. There were so many other things that they could have went with. It's alleged that Karmelo Anthony had epilepsy. It's alleged that he was still recovering from an injury which injured his football season. There's a lot of nuance in there, but even just the simple character part of it, where the kid saved someone from drowning. I don't know many people that are strong enough swimmers and have the courage to jump in when you see someone drowning and save them. You said had to check the website every day. They already selected the jury. The last time I was asked to be on a jury was in the early 20s and the early 90s. And I'm sure it wasn't a capital charge either. You know what I mean? They seem to never really have us on those charges. And then when they do, they have a melanated person cosplaying as black, or they have some like African or someone that's not of the freedman lineage, so they can say, see, we had a black person. Yeah, you had a black person that's not really culturally connected to the foundational Black American roots. See, when we're on the case, we look and we aim for justice, not for bias, for impartiality and justice. These other groups, they want to, have pats on the head from the dominant society, and they don't want to necessarily upset the apple cart. So, they'll vote and or convict based on public perception. Here, I have to live in this community. I don't want to be ostracized. So here, let me just vote. Is that the right thing to do? Well, it's the right thing for me to do because I don't want to be harassed, threatened, etc. You can't make a case for Zimmerman being self-defense, but then at the same time act like Karmelo Anthony is basically John Wick with a knife.
Toby Shook character did was not a legal defense. It was just courtroom theater. Well, we need to bring the curtain down on that kind of crap and remove these bastards from the stage, whether they want to go or not. What's next for Karmelo Anthony? An appeal, certainly, but the family would be beyond foolish to let the same DA's buddy who threw the case in the first place handle the appeal after he did everything he could to cripple that boy's legal defense. It's not a matter of him getting some new lawyers. It's a matter of he just needs to get some lawyers, period, because he didn't have legal counsel. He had the DA's buddy there, and we see exactly what the result was. And as for people who are outside of this case, what also needs to be done is if you're somebody who wants to be in the comments section saying, that's why we need to vote. Okay, but if you're going to vote, you need to know what you're voting for. We talk about an anti-Black hate crime law, and that's important. And part of that legal structure needs to be to dismantle precisely what this Mike Gould character did, racially tailoring the jury pool, because this creep was involved in making certain that there were no Black people or as few as possible from the very beginning. These kind of things are supposed to be illegal, but it's not enough for them just to be illegal. They must also be punished. And the mechanisms of punishment can't be ones that the judges can just go ahead and dismiss with a wave of the hand. As I've told you for going on 20 years now, justice is far too important to be left up to chance. You had that case in Texas where you had that guy, Daniel Perry. He killed a white BLM protester. And you had Tucker Carlson, who got on TV and said that the governor needed to give him a pardon. And that's exactly what Greg Abbott did for somebody who was guilty as hell. And he did it specifically to send a racial message to Black people. What's happened to Karmelo Anthony is the exact same thing. This is white power having seen a number of the L's that they've taken in the last few years, and this is them trying to get their little courage up. This is them trying to show that basically, see, we've still got some power. Oh, we know that white power has authority over this system. We know that. And that's what we're attempting to put an end to break the back of white supremacy and all of its little adherents and apparatchiks and administrators. What happened to Karmelo Anthony was not justice, but to put an end to these illegal maneuvers like the ones we saw during his trial and to punish these DAs and judges who engage in this behavior, that would be. Good day and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors. Fan Durand, David White.
So that's the video right there, and that will be the stream. I dropped the link. Nobody wanted to come up. Only person that came up was Malik. A lot of people have a lot of things to say, but when they're given a platform, when their ideas and ideology is challenged intellectually, many people cower because they're not formidable enough to challenge me or formidable enough to coherently explain their position. So salute and respect to Malik for coming through, and all of the people that has viewed this live concurrently and that will be watching this on the replay. Now I'm gonna play a series of some short videos, and then I will be about to shut it. Oh, hell nah, bruh. Said he late. Come on, bruh. Hey, hold on, man. John Cena. Come on, bruh. I gotta hit you.
What? Ho, please. Nigga, please. Ho.
Nigga, what?
Nigga. Nigga, please. Nigga, please. What?
John, where the hell you been, bruh? Malik came through, bro. Malik hit the panel. Malik hit the panel for like an hour. You let an East Coast nigga come and hit the panel before you? Come on, John. John. Let me see what bro talking about in the chat. You say you just got on YouTube and seen it pop up? Come on, bruh. Oh, you said you've been in the heat? Yeah, it is lightweight cooking. Oh, snap. Shout out to the Wildflower Records. Shout out to the Fresno family. Salute to bruh. You said sorry, be filling out an application. And shout out to John. Is this a new channel? Because I know I had put you in blue. So it's like, bruh, what channel are you on, bruh? You said Malik never showed up to It Gets Deeper. We got an APB out on his ass. Bro, he literally said the same thing about you. He said he got an APB out on you. He said, where is you at? Ask Big Rig. I told Big Rig to send a message to you. But yeah, Big Rig was here, was popping his stuff. You know, he threw a little shot at the West Coast and Cali. You know how he do. He threw a little shot at Cali. But yeah, Malik came through and he kind of called you out, John. He said, where the hell is John at? Oh, your voice still gone. I understand. I got that. Well, at least that you came through. I'm actually about to shut it down. So, but I appreciate you coming through. And Roger talked about a worker co-op summer online boot camp. Well, Roger, you're going to have to come on here and we'll talk about that. So get your material prepared, Roger, so that when you come on here, you know, you can lay it out for the people. Oh, you said you would have went live, but your voice. Okay, well, tell Malik that, because Malik said he got an APB. He was like, where is John? You know what I mean? He kind of called you out. I was like, oh, snap. I was hoping that you was here to defend yourself. But, you know, Malik was going in on you, bruh. And shout out to Roger Meadows. But, yeah, I appreciate y'all. And I dropped the link. Well, I can't drop the link for John because you said your voice is gone. So since John ain't gonna hit the link and nobody else is, I'm gonna hit y'all with some short visuals and then I will be out of here. So without further ado.
Yeah. Hey. B-Eazy Dat Dude, yeah. So hot it's burning up, just go ahead and turn this up. I bring the pain like an aftermath of a car wreck. There's a lot of niggas that say they real. To me that shit is far-fetched. Them cats is pussy. They really is on some feminine stuff. I ride up on them with the 40 ounces. It's the definition of adrenaline rush. What he do is sweet like cinnamon puffer. My niggas is rough like Willow Pass. Grew up out on Mary Mac, but I used to hang on Willow Pass. These birds that I roll with, outcasts and misfits. Better zip lips so you get hit when the fifth spit. Flat line in your pit. Trap habits is black magic, no voodoo. Get the bands like Goku. For the cocaine, they go cuckoo. These niggas is foo-foo, so I'm shitting on them like doo-doo. I can't fuck with y'all like tofu. I'm just saying, man, like Goku. Bad bitches at the house with me watching Netflix or Roku. Fuck them both at the same time, and I swear to God, it was so cool. Street legend, real boss, I call shots cause I'm still saucy. I know some G's to the bike crack on shite racket and fly back out the mill. When they hear me flow, they say I be burning up, burning up. Cookies to the draw is what we burning up, burning up. What you ain't know, oh, we burning up, burning up. This shit so hot, it's burning up. Just go ahead and turn this up. When you hear me flow, say I be burning up, burning up. Cookies to
Be easy, he is that dude. It's plain and obvious. A certified professional, ain't never been a hobbyist. He is one of the nicest, realest, coldest, and dopest. So you should take notice. Woo! That dude, be easy, that dude, be easy, that dude. Show love and support to be easy, that dude.
Be easy, ooh.
Be easy, tell me how it feel. Ooh, tell me how it feel. To be real, to be really that dude. Be easy, that dude. Ay, 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 that dude. Oh, be easy, that dude. Boy, stop playing. You know you that dude and been that dude. Back in the day, he was that dude. Fast forward to today, he's still that dude. Yup, that dude. You can see as clear as day that he here to stay. Either get with the program or move out the way. Ooh. Be easy, that dude. He back with another one. You ain't know. Let's just be easy. Ay, ay. Let's just be easy, that dude. Be easy. Is that dude. You hear me? You feel me? Ooh. Be easy, that dude. Yeah. Be easy. Be easy, he is that dude. Ooh, he is that dude. That dude, be easy, he is the one that you can call so he can get the job done. He about to reign supreme if you thought his run would soon end. He just getting started though, so go ahead and tune in. Be easy, he is that dude. Ooh, 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 he is that dude.
If you feel the vibe, like, share, and subscribe. We growing on this journey. Come and take a ride. If you wanna slide with that dude, be easy. We going all the way to the top, believe me. All the way to the top, believe me.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
Follow. Be easy. You know you want to.
We're waiting.